4 pickup, they load everything in there, and they pull up the alley, and they turn and head towards the golf course, drop the tailgate and everything blows out, what came from it, so.
Comes right back.
We're all, and then it all comes back. I think that's the reason it's doing it. I don't have enough room in the containers for everything. There's just no way.
Sounds like some smart kids.
They are really smart.
The meeting will come to order. For public information, a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of this meeting room on the east wall, if anyone needs to see that. We'll have roll call.
Harris,
Here.
Reisig,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Blue,
Here.
Parsley.
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let me mention a few things that I normally mention before the meeting. We want to welcome everyone here this evening. Have maybe a few visitors, and certainly we're want to welcome everyone. Want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. It will be broadcast at a later date. So remember that whoever wants to speak needs to be sure and come up in front of the podium here with a microphone, and that is when you're recognized, and state your name for the record, and you need to spell your name, which assists the county clerk in preparing her minutes. Remember, there's no swearing or other inappropriate language. We all need to check our cell phones, try and turn them off or to vibrate or silent or something that doesn't interrupt those around you. Want to also remind the commissioners to speak clearly and directly into your microphones so that, again, others can hear you when the recording is played back. I don't know how long our meeting will go tonight. I don't expect it to be too long, but depending upon the length, we might take a recess in the middle if I feel that it's appropriate. Or if any of the other commissioners ask to do so, and feel free to do that. Okay. I think that's all for the announcements. The next item is to approve the agenda and or consider any modifications. Kelly, do you have anything
I don't
different?
know of anything.
Don't know of anything?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, and we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
You have 5 yeses?
Motion's carried. Do want to remind everyone that the board reserves the right to enter into closed session if deemed necessary. We do have an executive session at the end of the meeting tonight, the last thing on the agenda. But that one's a planned executive session, and but we reserve the right to enter into a closed session if at any time that we feel it's appropriate and that our attorney helps us decide that. So the next item is the consent agenda. All of the items under this line item are intended to be approved by one action unless someone asks that something be considered separately. I would ask if there's any questions or comments about that.
I vote for approval of the consent agenda.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as it's been presented to us. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Yep, 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. Okay, the next items on our agenda, we have actually 5 items that come to us from the, planning and building, departments. They all are items that require public hearings. We intend to cover each one of these separately or individually. And so we'll officially open and close public hearings on 5 different items. So the first one is a public hearing to discuss and consider approval of amendments in section 17.1 of the of the Scotts Bluff County zoning regulations for the inclusion of an event facility to the definitions and replacing racetrack in section 5.102. And I would, say that this is a public hearing, and I'm going to officially open the public hearing, but I'm gonna let, Bill Maben, give his comments first, and then we'll go to any, public comments. Bill?
So we're just doing a little housekeeping to the zoning regulations, so we do it about every year. We're just trying to streamline it, make it a little easier for people who are coming in and doing some zoning requests. And in this particular one, we had some interest in somebody who wanted to do something to have birthday parties, wedding receptions type thing, and we just don't have anything in there currently. So we decided we better throw something together, and while we were in there, we decided to do a class 1 for the smaller venues, kind of like the Papa Moon, and then something larger. We've had the discussions about the racinos, the sports arenas and stuff like that, so we figured we might as well go ahead and include 2 different sizes in there. The planning commission did recommend approval on these by a unanimous vote, and what it will do is in section 5.102 conditional uses, it is listed as racetracks now, but we went ahead and incorporated racetracks into the event facility class 2. So what we'll do is just put event facility to replace racetracks where it's in that list of conditions, the conditional use permits. The difference on the class 1 and the class 2 was that we were gonna go 300 occupants or more for the class 2. The reason for that, we did talk to the state fire marshal's office, and they said that when you hit that number, 300 or more, that is when a fire suppression system is required. So we thought that was a good number to go ahead and use for that difference between the 1 and 2.
Aren't there a square footage requirement on that as well?
There is
Isn't it
for
like
when it has
1,000
to be.
square feet on a-
Well, when it hits over 1,000 square feet, you actually have to have an architect's or engineer's seal for it,
Right.
and that's required by the state fire marshal office.
But I mean, once you, for your spray, your fire suppression system.
There, I
Is that
think
at 12,000
there
square feet?
probably is for fixed seating, and it depends on the use. So in this case, we'd be talking like assembly, one of these kinds of places. We'd have a hall.
Or
Or,
like a church or
yeah, you're gonna have these dances or some reception area. Yeah.
so it's gonna lower that number. Is it gonna lower on the square footage, or is it just gonna be by the person or by the?
Well, the number
Occupancy?
she said was 300 occupants or more was the line in the sand.
What's that gonna do to churches and places that are already open? Are you changing that number?
No, they're not included in here. They're actually.
But I mean, you're not changing the number, are you? Is this number being added to this?
Well, we don't have a event facility yet, so this is all new.
It's all new.
Yeah.
And it's based on the occupant load, not so much square footage. So if they give you an occupant load of 299, that falls into one category, and everything over that, and that determines how many exits are necessary for that particular facility
And
also.
there's various
Yeah,
other,
they
it
use all
depends
sorts-
what you're
all sorts
using
of
it
different
for.
calculations to figure out what you gotta have.
And the fire marshal's gonna be involved with that at that size.
Anything over 1,000 square feet has to have a state fire marshal's permit.
Okay.
As well as has to have an engineer, an architect or engineer, has to be professionally designed.
So, 2 things that I had on my list was, in a previous conversation I had with you, you said that Jason Ocean also helped with these rules and regulations
we-
that's being proposed, early on in the writing of
We had a
it?
subcommittee, which he attended the meetings, so all of the preliminary versions of this, he
Right.
was there,
You had a subcommittee of the planning commission, and then that went to the
planning commission.
complete planning
Yeah.
commission, and they've given their approval.
What I sent you
And
is what they
recommendation,
yeah, is what
their
they
recommendation
recommended.
was
Yep.
to approve.
And I checked with Jason and he did approve these, correct?
Okay,
So
very good.
for clarification, we have two things that we're acting on here. One is, striking the word racetrack and substituting event facility, and then you have two event facilities depending on the size, which 300 would be the
The difference between
threshold, I
one
guess, or
and two.
the
Yeah, so, and
separation.
those two that we have here, 1 and 2, we're adding those to the definitions, and that's section 17.1. We don't have anything in there right now for
Right,
it.
and we're doing it all in one motion,
Yes.
technically.
But racetrack is still included in the class two.
So all we did is we took racetrack and we just included it in the class 2.
Well, no, it's still in event, class two facility.
We just put it in class 2, and
Okay.
since that
Okay.
opened up that slot at item 20, we just went ahead and put event facility right there.
I understand.
It's just, one event of many events facilities
Yes.
that can be,
Right.
right. Okay. And so I know there was also some talk, about the Papa Moon location and that it's already kind of like this. And then, so then I found out that it, they're in that 2-mile jurisdiction and the city of Scotts Bluff dealt with
So they
that.
don't,
We didn't.
we don't deal with them.
So,
But that would be a good
but it would
good
be an example
something
of
that-
what could
yeah.
be dealt with under this.
Right.
Isn't there's another one out south of Gearing or somewhere, a newer one?
Not yet.
Well, there is one out, I've never been there, but I've seen them advertised.
I think they are wanting to get this on here for,
Is,
yeah.
they're what?
Well, they couldn't make application because we don't have anything in there yet, so.
Yeah, I don't know how big it is, but I know they advertise a lot for
Right,
wedding receptions and those
Yeah.
kind of things.
right,
A large facility out this direction, I think.
out south, right, and that was,
Kind of an
Tell you the name,
Airbnb
but I can't
even,
remember.
yeah, I don't know either.
that was
Tom
the
Cooper's daughter,
conversation why
Tom
we
Cooper's
threw
daughter.
this together.
Yeah, that prompted part of this
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
So I don't know
All
if
right,
somebody else
so
wants.
appreciate it, yeah, if you wanna take a seat, Bill. So this is a public hearing, I'd invite anyone that wanted to speak in favor of this item to come forward and speak. All right, seeing none, anyone wanting to speak against this item? Don't see anyone. So we're gonna officially close the public hearing and, go to any questions, I guess, from the commissioners on this item.
Are we changing anything on the conditional use on the bottom line there, Bill?
So, we're replacing the racetracks, the strike through, just with the event
That's the only thing that
facilities.
changes on
Yep.
that statement? Okay,
Right.
Okay.
All right,
I would move for approval as submitted, the zoning change.
I'll second that.
all right. So we have a motion and second to, approve the amendments to section 17.1 of Scotts Bluff County zoning regulations for the inclusion of event facility to the definitions and replacing racetrack in section 5.102. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Oh, let's see, cause he's here. Should be good.
We still have that to be though,
I can't look that way.
if I may speak. Yeah, 5 yeses.
All right, motion's carried. All right, we'll go to the next item, which is again a public hearing to discuss and consider approval of amendments to section 4.1 of the zoning regulations to add an exception for the replatting of existing non-conforming lots of record concerning minimum size requirements. Again, this is a public hearing, and I'm going to officially open the public hearing. but we're gonna let, Bill Maben, give his information first. Bill?
So as it's written right now in section 4.1, the only way you could actually replat a lot would be to bring it to current compliance, which is 3 acres or more. So the problem we're having is that there's a lot of subdivision lots out there that were originally approved by the county back in the 70s, early 80s, that were a half acre to an acre and a half, which would never meet our requirements now. But we feel it'd be to the benefit of the landowner and for us, frankly, if they could consolidate lots, even if they don't meet that threshold of 3 acres, that they could still increase their sizes to potentially get their setbacks on their well and septic systems. Once again, the planning commission did recommend approval of this right here by a 6-0 vote. There was no opposition.
Okay.
And so what we're basically requesting is to put this exemption at the bottom of 4.1. So it just says, non-conforming lots may be replatted to increase area without meeting district area requirements. Non-conforming lots shall not be reduced in any manner. So they can't make it a lot smaller, that would be below 3 acres, but they can make them bigger. And I have this picture here, this is a good example in Rolling Hills. So these are all like 1.2 acre lots, this one's a little bigger, but, and so they're kinda stuck right now with these little smaller lots. But what they could do is, for instance, this guy could actually buy that and incorporate that, and he'd still get about 2.5 acres. So, I mean, if you wanna put a big shop on it, and possibly your reserve septic system, he's gonna gain a lot of space. What you could do is come down here and consolidate, 2 or 3 of these lots, and now you actually have a lot where you could develop and have space. So we're just trying to make it easier for those people who have these lots. Like Russ, for instance, your daughter lived in the H&M subdivision. I think those things are barely at half an acre.
Yeah, you're about right.
And, you're getting tight now. When you gotta replace a septic system, you have to make 100 feet from a drain field to a well, and you got your neighbors on 3 sides of you. So being able to get, double your size it's a big deal.
Okay. All right, very good.
So this can apply for anything in the county then, right, Bill?
Well, this would be for, anything that's platted, let's say in a subdivision,
Sure.
cause those would be the only
I mean,
thing.
this is countywide. I mean, you could get anybody can make these qualify that have them.
Sure.
You haven't just got one area set out.
I was
for
just
now.
using this as an example.
Correct, that's what
right.
I'm-
Yeah.
Anybody that's under our jurisdiction.
I just wanted to be sure that
Yeah.
that was
So at the lake-
countywide.
Like there's a lakeside addition at the lake, and they had a bunch of those little. I don't even think they're half an acre.
Yeah, we just had that
Yeah.
issue
Yeah. So
at the assessors.
so that would be a
stuff.
case where you could maybe put 4 lots together, and you'd end up with over an acre, and that's quite a bit throughout the lake.
And you're making it easier for them to do that.
Yeah, we're just trying to make it possible, because right now you can't even do it.
Okay,
Yeah. So we're making an exception to allow this to happen.
right. So we're trying to make a bad situation better.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
A bad situation that was allowed at one time. And we're
Exactly.
trying to make it better.
These were approved lots.
Right, at the time, yeah.
We just zoned on by.
Way
it.
back, 40 years ago.
50.
50, yeah. All right, so this is a public hearing. We want to invite anyone that wants to speak on this item, again, in favor of the recommendation, if you want to come up first,
Can I just ask a question?
if you'll come up.
Lisa Betts Marquez, Marquez hyphen, BETZ hyphen Marquez. Okay. So I'm curious, the definition of subdivision, what if there's, in the rural area, there are 2 farms that were once a whole farm that got subdivided or split and have 2 owners now? Is that considered a subdivision if it's a single farm?
Well,
That was
we're
given
talking
to,
like a development.
that's what I thought, okay,
And it would have to be, these would have to be under 3 acres essentially. 'Cause once
Understood.
you're over 3, then you've already met the current compliance.
okay, thank you, that clarifies.
Okay. Any other comments in favor? Seeing none, we'd ask any other comments against the recommendation. All right. Seeing none, I'd ask if the commissioners have any other thoughts on this item.
move for approval of the,
Are we gonna close it?
And yeah, let me
I'm-
close the
I'm
public
sorry, I
hearing
didn't hear you.
officially and then go ahead, Ken.
okay, closed. I would move for approval to amend section 4.1 of the zoning regulations.
Okay? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. All right, we'll go to the next item, which is another public hearing. This one is to discuss and consider approval of amendments to section 5.101, 13 of the zoning regulations to add and remove text for ag estate dwelling site, AEDS requirements. This is officially a public hearing, and I'll officially open the public hearing. And, Bill, we'll let you make your presentation first.
So this is a pretty long section, and I'll flip to the section. I think you guys have a copy of that in there. But I'll just use the illustration first. The biggest part of this, the biggest component that we wanted to change was the reserve area, which has been there since they made it. And what the reserve area says is that you could split this off, and then the rest of this 80, you're saying you can't do another ag estate. You could build a house on it, on the farm, but you can't do another ag estate, another split. So this was what we did the last meeting right here. This is that MH farming. And Russ, I remember you brought this up, like this thing, there's not a house there, but it's a yard that has some buildings. So what you'd say is, if that was still the case, they wouldn't be able to do an ag estate in this yard. They'd have to go change the zoning to rural residential, which is never meant for this kind of application right here, and then do a preliminary plat and go through that whole process, where it shouldn't be any different than what they did over here. You have a standalone tract that doesn't have really any neighbors nearby, so there's no reason it should have to go the threshold of a rural residential lot. So what we're, proposing is that we just remove the reserve area and just allow for 2 ag estates for each 80-acre aliquot tract. So this would now be allowed to have an ag estate.
What about the other corner down below? Generally, on a normal deal, you would use the 2 outlying corners, wouldn't you, Bill?
Yeah, generally you're gonna end up with 2 pivot corners on an 80.
So are you gonna utilize them that way then, with the 2 pivot corners the same way then? from
That's
then?
probably where you're gonna see the most
Yeah,
development at
yeah.
this point, cause I mean, you ever pull it out and see how many pivots there are out
Well,
there?
I think it's smart to get those used up. If we
Right,
get people,
yeah.
I'm
Well,
happy to
nobody's
have
gravity-
And
I'm
that's
happy
really
to
not
have
gonna
people
matter,
go.
is it? I mean, where they put it. I
No.
mean, they put 2 if they wanna go to this
That's right.
corner or up there.
That's
As
right.
long as they're not in
It's
here.
not
As long as they're
required.
Out of that 80 acres.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
In almost every case, it would make sense and be probably the
Place
most
But
sensible
generally, it would
thing
be
to
the
do.
opposite corner of that one.
Right.
It wouldn't
But-
only, cause that pivot could actually go completely around.
But we from the county, we're not gonna make them do that.
No.
In this case, they want those 2 corners.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
And-
put
Well,
it wherever
but
they want
generally,
to.
but he's opened it up to where you can have 2 corners on an 80 is what you're saying.
Yep, exactly.
So they can
Pick
pick,
whichever
they can
one
pick
you
their
want.
spot, they
Right,
can pick their
right.
spot.
And I
And this-
understand this, the way you're saying it, is that you're only allowing for 2 per 80 acres.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is your 80-acre
without-
tract, right? So this would be one, and this would be one.
You're saying without a survey and
Well, you still get the survey and everything. You'd
Oh,
still
yeah.
have to come through and do,
that way, if they wanted to go to a 3rd one, then they'd have to come up and do what they.
right. But we
But you're
wanna
opening
kinda,
up-
we kinda wanna discourage that. The point is, we're trying to do some density control here where we don't wanna overload the roads so much, but you could still,
Right
could still
there,
do
we'll
it.
just keep him busy or fix the road.
So here, let me switch over to the actual regulation. So this is actually what it says on your 5.1.13. This is the entire text of it, and it was made in like 1978 or something like that, and it was a little outdated. So the red text we wanna remove, the green text we wanna add. So basically, this is just saying the intent of this is not to encourage a bunch of lots, but we wanna allow a sale of, and usually what it was the old farmstead on the farm. And now we're starting to get to see some that are
Dry corner.
vacant lots, right? So, but make it easier and say the intent of this subsection is to allow for the subdivision of land for low-density residential purposes. There's the gist of the whole thing. So this was what they had. It was, you had to be an existing farmstead, accessory for farm and ranch land, a parcel. This was pretty specific, really. We're just gonna replace that and just say it has to be a minimum of 2 acres, which it's always been. Not including any easements or right-of-ways. So what always happens is if it's up against a road, you have a certain amount of that's right-of-way, so you end up a tick more than 2 acres. The reason for that is that area is not gonna be usable for a septic system.
Well, how does that address if we have irrigation ditches or anything there as well? Is that,
If there's an easement, that will not count.
okay. Then does it explain it that way as an easement, Bill?
Yep, right here, excluding all easements, right-of-ways.
Okay, good.
And it's kind of always been that way.
I missed that easement part, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
So up to 19.9, once you're over 20 acres, we don't actually have to approve anything. If your split's over 20, then we're not involved. So basically anything from 2 to 20, 2 to 19.99 acres is what you're doing for an ag estate here. So, same as what it was before, your ag estate should be approved only on marginal use land, so that's why the pivot corners, nobody really irrigates those anymore. But we already had that in there, that was all right here, so we're just replacing this B with this B. Going down to C, what we did is we took this, it has, you have to have 150 foot of frontage on it, or if it's an interior type, you have to have a dedicated access road at least 25 foot wide. That's for the fire trucks.
That's a minimum there.
Yep. So what we did here is we just went ahead and moved it down here and incorporated that with D, cause it was a platting thing. So along with that, each ag estate shall be subject to the provisions of the preliminary plat procedure. So that's in the subdivision requirements. So we're just totally eliminating this. We've already addressed this 2 acres up in item B. E, we're just getting rid of that. We're using the density control in, we're not using the reserve area, and that's what this entire section talks about. And, planning commission shall take into consideration the effect, utilities, roads, that's pretty much just general zoning. And we just got rid of this, if approved, the ag estate parcel along with the reserve tract shall be noted by the zoning administrator. Well, there was a time when we didn't have computers, and there was a map hanging on the wall, and they had these little pins that had numbers in it. And Lonnie would go put it up on there whenever you had a new one, and that's how you kept track. So thank God we don't need to do that now. So we,
Bill, on that 25-foot culvert, you got a minimum of 25-foot culvert.
or that's the access, yep.
Well, our tubes come in 24 foot, I sell a lot of tubes and they're only 24 foot wide. How's that gonna be
Well,
when they buy a 24 foot tube?
They have to have a 25-foot easement. We're not necessarily saying that they actually have to have, most of the time, they're not gonna build a road to that size. But we're saying that
Well,
you
you're
at least
asking-
have to have that.
That's what you're asking to do though, is have a 25-foot approach, aren't you, or access?
25-foot,
Access.
yep.
Well,
In
We
with,
only have a 24-inch tube unless they buy 24-foot tube unless they buy 30-foot tubes, but,
well, we're just going with
They come in-
25, cause that's what the fire department wants.
well, I need to check with our guys and see if they can start making 25-footers,
Yeah,
because that isn't
if they
gonna
need
work
it.
for you guys. They need to be the right size,
I mean,
so when
if
people
you're
put
gonna
them
have a semi, probably you're gonna end up,
in, need 30s and
yeah,
40s.
yeah, you're not gonna use
But
24
most of your
anyway,
homes
but-
aren't gonna have semis in there, so.
Bill, just another question. You have up here a minimum of 2 acres.
Yep.
Okay. I get confused. I'm sorry. But I thought our minimum was 3 acres for well and
Okay,
septic.
so that's for the rural residential zone in a development. The reason for that is, when we're talking an ag estate, you're not buttered up against anybody else,
Okay,
You're
that's the
typically surrounded by a
difference.
farm. When
all
you're in
right.
a development, you got a lot on this side and a lot on this side, maybe in the back.
And that's why we require 3
And,
acres.
and your setbacks
Gotcha.
stretch across
And
the
I think
property
you
line.
explained that to me once before.
So that's,
I'm
well,
sure
that's,
you
and that's
did.
the state of Nebraska's rule, if you have a development
Makes sense too.
where lots are
Yeah.
under 3, then you have to send it into the state of Nebraska so they can okay it.
I'm not confused anymore. I'm in good shape.
So this originally allowed 1, is that right?
If-
And now we're allowing two
Yeah,
on a 80-acre.
exactly. And there were
Okay.
times when they would maybe do a 40, you know, do this 40 and do this 40. But most of them were the whole 80, because back in 1980, nobody thought that they were gonna have more than one house on that 80-acre tract, you know?
Weren't thinking pivots at that time. Yeah,
And, right,
So much.
yeah, everybody was gravity irrigation and they were doing the corners.
Right.
And we still need that 80 for production land. You're not gonna take much out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So once again, the planning commission did recommend approval by unanimous vote with that, so, and you know, we had Scott Bossy there and Dennis Sullivan, they were at that meeting that we did the planning commission, they were about ready to do backflips if we could approve this, cause it'd make it a lot easier for them too. All the surveyors were very much in favor.
Agreement, yeah. All right, so, okay, hopefully, so that's, takes care of your part of the presentation. I'll ask, again, this is a public hearing, I'd ask if there's anyone here to speak in favor of this item. Seeing none, we'll go on to anyone's wanna, speak in opposition to this item. Seeing none, we're gonna officially close the public hearing and go to any questions from commissioners.
I'd move for approval of the amendment section 5-101-13.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, to discuss and consider approval of amendments to section 5-101-13 of the zoning regulations to add and remove text for the ag estate dwelling site requirements. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Yeah, I got you. You're covered.
You have 5 yeses.
All right, motion's carried. We'll go on to the next item, which is the fourth item for Bill. Again, it'll be a public hearing to discuss and consider approval of amendments to section 18.1 of the zoning regulations, adding text concerning a late fee for permits, and establish an affidavit form and fee required for work without an inspection. Amend the building and zoning office fee schedule to include both fees. Again, I would say this is a public hearing. I'll officially open the public hearing at this point, and Bill will let you give your presentation first.
So we just wanna address, I had kind of a little bit of a problem lately with, people not pulling their permits. I had 4 in 1 week, actually, here a while back. So, it's time to do what everybody else is doing. The good news is, if you're following the procedure as required, it's not gonna cost you a cent. So, we just wanna add to the section 18 violations and penalties, the part in the orange here, any person or contractor who commences any work on a building, structure, plumbing, or HVAC system before obtaining the required permit shall be subject to a fee established by Scotts Bluff County that shall be in addition to any regular permit fees. So then we're asking for the fee right now to be $100.
Do you ever shut the project down, Bill?
I have before when somebody starts and I catch them, you know, and they're already, sometimes it's already framed or dang near, you know, so I go put up the stop work order and that gets them in to get it done. But the problem is, it's too late. They've already started putting it up, and if they're in a setback or a floodplain or some other prohibited area, they're gonna have to move it.
That's, we moved a building 2 years ago east of Minutair, and we had the building up in the air, and a contractor came in to pour the floors, I guess, you know, anyway, he didn't go get a permit. The landowner didn't go get a permit. Here we got this thing up in the air, we're ready to move the building. Bill comes driving by, thank goodness he did, and nobody had went and got a permit for that. And we never left the property, so we didn't have to have a moving permit, cause we weren't leaving the property, we just relocated on the property. Bill comes and measures it, that brand new floor, brand new for well, that building was 40 by 75,
large
it's a
building.
big building. And it was too close to the road.
It was barely
They
off,
wouldn't- so
it was
Bill
barely
just-
off the right of way.
You need a permit to do what you were doing?
No, I didn't. I didn't need a
Not for
permit.
moving it?
Not for, if I
you
would've,
were
if I
going
would've
to a
got out
different
onto the
location,
road, I'd
yes.
have had to go to get a county
If
permit.
what? I didn't.
If I'd have got out on the county road. We moved everything within the yard. We never left the
Oh, I
yard.
see.
We
Okay.
stayed in the yard, so we didn't have to have a
It was
permit.
probably 500 feet or so is all you
Yeah.
moved it, yeah.
But they went and poured that floor, and Bill come driving by and seen it, and he went and checked it, and they were too close to the right of way. They were out in the right of way. So they had to leave that floor. It's flat now, and they had to pour another floor behind that floor, and that became the approach. But
Move it back.
but it's dead level, and when it rains or snows, it's just a sheet of ice out there, cause it has no drainage, it's dead flat. But if he hadn't have came by, like I said, those guys never got a permit, and all we were was just moving, we weren't having anything to
Thank
do
God
with
we
it.
caught it before.
And so,
so we didn't have
that
to
could've
move the
saved,
building.
that $100 thing right there could've saved those guys probably $15,000,
If it, yeah.
I
So-
think he's right on for what he's asking to have done here.
So, in a discussion that I had earlier with Bill, I said, to me, $100 is kind of a slap on the wrist.
That's what I thought
That's
too.
absolutely nothing, and it may not deter a lot of people if that's their intent. What it'll hopefully stop is those people that wasn't their intent. It'll help them pay attention next time a little better. I am a little concerned about, I think both Jason and Bill talked about, let's start with 100. If we need to do more later, in my opinion, maybe
Bill and I had
later
that same-
needs
The
to
planning
be.
commission felt 100 was
We had,
fair.
I thought it was too low, but, Bill and I had that same, he
Yeah.
feels like that's a good starting point.
Right,
Let's
I
see
think we
what
can
it does.
start there, see what it does, maybe it'll help solve the problem. My concern is multiple offenses.
That's just what I was gonna say.
Right, and that maybe the next time when you look at it, that maybe as the second offense is something else, the third offense is something else.
Then you're referring to the county attorney's office.
Yeah, and as Bill said, we always have the ability to refer this to the county attorney's office. And then I said, who is responsible to get the permit? And Bill said, anybody doing work there has to be sure there's a permit. And they can't do work unless there is a permit. And so, as an example, if the thought process was that the homeowner was gonna get the permit, and then a concrete foundation company went out and started doing work, that it would be the company doing work
Well,
that would get the $100 fine.
I would disagree with that. I think generally you'll have a contractor and a homeowner. If the contractor comes in and he's got the job contracted and he's doing it for $89,000 and he hires a cement contractor to come in and do it under a contractor, he's assuming that between him or the landowner or homeowner, 'cause I don't go check if you pulled a permit.
Wow.
Electrician doesn't check if you pull a permit if it's county, now they do if it's city, but county they normally don't, because you're supposed to have that all under your permit, cause they come in and sign off.
Well, so I'm only saying that, yeah, exactly how that's all gonna play out and
Yeah.
how it's gonna wash out. One of my concerns, and Bill said, from a technical standpoint, let's say a homeowner was the person that was building the new
I would
house.
agree with what you just said then, I would agree.
Then he hired a cement contractor to come in and put in the footing and foundation,
That'd be 100% right.
and then didn't get caught then, but then a plumber started doing rough-in plumbing work, an electrician started doing rough-in electric, and then pretty soon somebody was there doing framing work. All separate subs. Bill said from a technical standpoint, all of those subs could be held liable. So, anyway,
Well,
we'll
the
see.
only the ones that would be potentially, to me, it would be the one that to buy the permit. If you're doing the concrete work, you wouldn't buy the permit for the whole project.
Well,
And neither would you do if you were just doing the rough-in plumbing, you wouldn't buy the permit for the whole project.
they may
It
need
should
to,
fall back to the homeowner, ultimately it should be the homeowner, and then he can figure out if it's him or the general contractor. If he's his own general contractor, it's basically.
That's,
homeowner.
I think that's the key, as the homeowner, if you declare yourself as a general contractor,
Then it should be all you.
and then it's up to you, but it's also up to the electrician to get their permit.
In
It's up
city
to
it
the
is, but
plumber.
not in the county. City it
What's
is.
that?
Not- Your electrical and all that falls under the one permit in
They
the
don't have to
county.
get a separate permit?
All the electrical for us is done by the state electrical division, so we don't even
Okay.
deal with
What about
electrical.
plumbing?
it's all covered in the
It's
actual.
all covered
building
under that
permit,
one
yeah.
permit, but
Yeah,
the
we don't-
cities are way different.
Yeah, we don't do a separate HVAC,
Yeah,
separate
okay.
plumbing.
Yeah,
And-
see, and I was used to,
Right,
everybody got
no,
their-
that's why I say, that's
everybody
why,
got- And we had a lot of times, the owner became the general contractor.
sure they
So
do,
they-
and
they
they
were-
still do that in the county.
Oh,
That's why
absolutely.
he should be the
Yeah.
guy that goes and gets the permit, if he doesn't have the permit, and he's hired that cement guy, the homeowner should be the guy that takes care of that, because it all falls under one permit, the cement
Under the
contractor would
general
never,
contractor.
the
I
cement
have a-
contractor would never buy that permit.
Yeah.
I have a thought of who should be responsible, and there's many other thoughts of some people here
Oh, yeah.
about who should be responsible. At this point in time, the way it's written and assumed is whoever does work there.
Whoever,
And
whoever,
that's the way you have it right now, you,
any person / contractor, just, we didn't wanna say one or the other, it could be a homeowner,
Homeowner.
could be a contractor who commences any work without obtaining the permit
Permit.
shall be subject. So ideally, the homeowner's talking to the
These
general
people.
contractor or whoever's
it
doing the
should be a
digging.
homeowner, general contractor, those should be your two main deals.
Well, and they may or may not have a general,
Because you would never, if you were gonna build an addition, you would never send a cement contractor to go buy a building permit.
I agree if you're knowledgeable at all, and, you know, our firm does some of this kind of work.
Sure.
And when we certainly have certain situations where the homeowner's saying, oh, I'll get the permit, then I include that in the contract, okay? But if I thought I was at $100 risk, I just add $100 into the contract and make sure I was covered just in case. And again, because $100 isn't gonna make the difference whether you get the job or not.
No, but if you do a progressive thing like you're talking about
Right.
eventually, that could be 500 eventually.
Well, I know, but.
Right now, I think it really should fall on the owner and the general contractor to on those permits right now. I don't think you'd want a cabinet maker to be responsible if he was out there building cabinets in the shed. And he's supposed to get a building permit for this whole house, it's not his deal.
But you can maybe talk with that with your planning commission and see how you wanna apply it, but that's the way it's gonna get applied, at least for now.
Yeah,
based on the
this
way
is
it
what
is.
happens. I'm just gonna tell you what actually happens is, somebody doesn't get it, I send a letter, I get a call from the landowner, and he says, oh, I thought my contractor was gonna take care of that. So then the contract go out to go look at it, and the contractor says, I thought the landowner was gonna get it.
But yeah.
And it happens a lot.
Like you
But
said.
I would like to see them we'd actually have a step process of who is responsible and step it down accordingly. I disagree with the way that's worded.
So let me just say again, we're in a public hearing. Bill, is there anything else that you wanna say as far as your information goes?
Well, should we go ahead and go over to the work completed without inspection affidavit? Cause I have those two lumped into the same.
The
Yeah.
same item, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, it's kind of the same premise, have some problems with some guys who, you know, you go out there and it's already sheetrocked, and you didn't look at anything. And so the problem with that is, we've always kinda had an affidavit going back to Lon Darnell, he kinda had a general form. But I feel like I wanted something that was actually adopted by the board, and one, it protects us from any liability. And two, you got two options. I mean, you're either gonna make them tear off all the sheetrock so you can go in and look at it, or two, you can say, you're gonna attest that you did all this to the codes. And, you know, Jason Ocean was, me and him basically designed this. I gave it to him, he tidied it up, and he thought this was a good idea, a way to protect yourself. And same thing, $100 fee. So you hope somebody does it once, they're not gonna wanna do it again. So, but that's what we're doing here, we're just basically have something in the file, says, hey, we didn't get a look at it, but we don't necessarily want you to have to rip everything off. But I kinda leave it open that it's kind of the determination of the code official on that. If you feel like you need to rip it open, you rip it open, or
You would have the authority
maybe it's
to
some
do it.
plumber who's reputable and just his guy forgot to call in or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's where we are, same thing, this was tied in together with the planning commission, so it was all unanimously recommended for approval.
Okay. All right, so that's your presentation?
Yep.
All right, let's be sure and have our public hearing here, so if there's anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this item? Come on up. Oh, okay, ask the questions while you're here.
Lisa Betts Marquez. So I don't like to come up here and speak on everything, but I just want to state that I really do agree with Russ. I live out in the county, rural property. I've had things done on my place. I've worked with contractors. I've always functioned as my own general contractor. And I think it should be really crystal clear that the homeowner, in lieu of a general contractor, is the general contractor. And I really agree with Russ. I think if you agree to this tonight, you're gonna have issues. I don't think it's clear enough. Rural properties are different than homes in the city, and I think it should be specified that it's Russ is right on track. So that's all I wanna say. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Even table it to, work on the language so that it is clear. Thank you.
Anyone else? Either way, in favor of or against? All right.
May I ask
See-
a question?
Sure.
So are we in agreement that that was basically opposed, Lisa, as written?
Opposed as written.
I mean, For my
I think
minutes, I
that's
just
right.
wanted to
All right.
clarify while she's
Yeah.
here. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna officially close the public hearing. We'll go to comments from commissioners. So,
I'd like to see us split those. I don't think we can. We don't have it written that way, but I am opposed to one and not the other.
You can change anything you want right now. I'll make a note of it. When we make the motion, you can change it.
Well, I would just like to see it to where, we had a chain of command here that the homeowner sees to it that they have a permit, whether they have a general contractor or if they have a cement contractor, whoever it is, that the homeowner is basically responsible, that fine would go to the homeowner. And that's where it should start, cause that's ultimately who's paying the bill. And they need to be sure that they have a permit on site before that job starts.
And that takes the responsibility off of Bill.
That's right.
'Cause right now, Bill has to decide who's in charge.
We shouldn't have to decide that.
No, we should know that. And I'm going back to my old days, and I know it's different with the city.
Right, oh, yeah.
But somebody came in and took out the permit. It was either the general contractor or the homeowner, or the two. So if anything went wrong, that's who we went to. That's who we went to.
Went to the homeowner.
Well, we went to whoever pulled the permit.
But if nobody pulled a permit, wouldn't you go to the homeowner versus you don't know who they hired for a contractor at that point?
There
Cause
would
you don't
be-
have a permit to verify
There would
that.
be a tag that would be attached to that building, and you're gonna do no more work until somebody comes in and gets a permit.
Correct.
And I don't care whether it's the homeowner or the general contractor.
Correct.
Somebody's gonna pull a permit.
But ultimately, that tag goes on the homeowner's property, the homeowner's responsible to pay for that.
If they
So
want,
it's
if they wanna
all-
come in and do it, or they want their general. to
Yeah,
do
but
it.
it all revolves around
Won't
the
matter.
homeowner's gonna pay that
But that's
bill.
not up to Bill to decide who's responsible.
Yeah,
I'd
you
like
know,
to see it, I'd
so-
like to see us put that in, that it's the homeowner's responsibility to see that there's a permit before any work commences, and that would be, that they would be the one fined on this, on this. And it could be a plumber, it could be anybody, but they're a homeowner, whatever.
so
they are.
I would only say this, that, this hasn't really changed from what it was before, other than the fee. He's had the same issues dealing with who should have got the permit, who didn't get the permit. He's dealing with all of that today.
He is, but he's changing it now to where that whoever is on site working, if they had two crews out there working, that each one of those would be fined
Could get fined
because of the
$100.
homeowner's neglect.
That's where this is. Bill maybe been working with that for a long time. But
Yeah.
now we're defining, somebody's gonna get it nailed. Somebody's
should-
gonna get a fine.
But it's only one person is the
Yeah.
person who is getting the work done. on
Doesn't
their
matter to
property.
me. We could just strike this out, person contractor, and put landowner, and that would address what you're saying.
That's
So
what
if
I
you- I
like
mean,
to
if
see.
you wanna just make it so
Landowner
one
covers it
person-
For me.
Yeah,
And I've-
somebody's in charge, doesn't matter.
Somebody
And
owns
I don't
that
have a
project.
problem with that at all.
Somebody
It-
owns that project.
It seems to me that the landowner or the landowner should either get the permit or be sure that somebody
Or
gets the
be sure it's
permit.
got.
Meaning a general or a foundation guy or somebody.
But they
is
need
gonna
to-
get the permit.
They need to be responsible that permit was
Or the
taken.
guy that's moving the building onto that thing that's too close to the.
Same thing.
Right.
The landowner, the
and that's-
landowner needs to do that.
Right, and I'm also just
could be.
thinking, again, we're talking here about new houses primarily. But a whole bunch of what we deal with is little additions and some other things.
Decks, right, right.
And, so there's other issues, but I do agree probably that the homeowner ultimately,
We could call it
Person that owns
homeowner
the
slash
real
landowner, it
estate.
should be landowner.
I think
slash
landowner,
Are we
right?
okay to make that change with this before,
We can, yeah.
other than have to go back to planning commission?
No,
Okay.
I believe you can do it.
Okay,
So, in my opinion, if you can do that, I think that it'll help clarify for you. You won't have to be deciding how many people to
It
apply
doesn't matter
from.
to me. That was just what
And
we kinda
up
thought you
with.
would make it so whoever's doing the work or the
Right.
landowner, but if you wanna just
But
like
if
the
you're,
idea.
if you're willing to do
zero
that,
it down, so,
then would be certainly in favor of that idea.
sure.
Again, it puts responsibility on somebody, and it clarifies not only for you, but it clarifies for me as a subcontractor, it clarifies for a lot of people who was responsible to be sure that permit was
But
obtained.
As a good subcontractor, and you ask the homeowner, do you have a permit, but he can't produce it,
Right.
all they have to do is call Bill and say, Bill, is there a permit here?
Right,
I like the idea of holding, specifying who's accountable. The only thing, as an owner of a property, if I have somebody, do HVAC work, I assume that they're the ones getting the permit,
I know.
and this is gonna change that. But I think ultimately what would
Well,
happen
not
is,
necessarily, all it'll do
Right.
is when they come to do the work, is say, have you pulled a permit? And you ask us, show
Give
the
me
permit.
proof, give me the proof.
and if the
Right.
county were to go out and say, we need to see a permit, and the owner says, well, I wasn't aware that I needed, I thought he, at least you
Well,
can
maybe
point
we
to.
need to send some notification out in the, however we notify, I guess, Star Herald or however we're gonna do it. We ought to put some notifications out there that,
I was,
We made
I
these
was gonna
changes.
send something out to the contractors I have on file.
that'd be fine too.
Yeah.
Right,
well, I would move for approval with the change to say any owner or contractor who commences any work.
That's the same thing.
No, you want
No.
just
I'm talking about the owner.
landowner?
You said owner or contractor.
Owner
Landowner.
slash Owner or
Be
contractor.
the owner, and landowner or homeowner, the only one that'd be
Leave the
responsible.
contractor out of it?
right.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to say, if that's, we need to get it through.
I think just landowner would cover
Right.
it.
Homeowner,
Just cause
landowner.
just whoever owns the
Landowner.
property.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
'cause it
fine.
could be a bare piece of land they're building a little garage on or anything.
Yeah,
So,
whoever
it
owns the
Needs to
property.
be landowner. so-
Property.
Contractor may take the permit out, but that's
Yeah,
up to the
but at least the
landowner.
landowner would know it.
Okay,
Or homeowner.
okay, that's my motion.
And you're adding to that the work completed without inspection affidavit as written.
That's all
There's
in
two
there.
parts to it,
Right.
okay, yeah.
Right.
All
Right.
in. That's the way you have it planned, is all of
Yes.
that in one motion.
Right, so we have a resolution just to approve the document, the
If
actual
we just
form
we
here.
just change that language, we're okay
And then,
with
and
it.
then $100 fee for both of those.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion, to, approve the amendments to section 18.1 of the zoning regulations, adding the text concerning a late fee for permits and establish an affidavit form and fee required for work without an inspection, and amend the building and zoning office fee schedule to include both fees with the change of, instead of person contractor, strike those words and put in landowner. Okay? All right, so that's the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You're so good to them. You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. All right, appreciate your comment. All right, we're going to the fifth and final item for Bill. Again, it's a public hearing to discuss and consider approval of amendments to section 17.1 of the zoning regulations for the inclusion of accessory dwelling to the definitions and replace guest home in section .2016. So let me officially open the public hearing, and Bill will let you give your presentation first.
And I guess I should have put accessory dwelling unit, cause that's the way we have it listed on here, so I didn't include that on the header, but yeah, we want it to be accessory dwelling unit. That's just the new term for it. So in our current regs, we have in the rural residential district, once again, we're talking about a subdivision development. We're not talking like out on a farm or something like that. We're talking in a small subdivision, smaller lots, and all of that zoning allows for only one primary residence. So number 6,
Now,
as you see on the permitted uses, allows for currently a guest home, but we don't really have a definition for guest home right now.
okay, so I'm gonna build me a guest home in my backyard, but I want a full basement. What's that do to my 800 square feet?
Your 800 square feet's living space, so if you were to use it for storage, I suppose you could. Living space is designated as any place where you're gonna habitate.
Well, I mean, is it the footprint that's gonna be 800 square feet, or are you gonna combine those floors and make it 800 square feet?
If you were gonna have a basement, whether it was gonna have living space in it, you would do that. So most of the time, you're gonna see it on slab.
Just asking, so.
Yeah. It's living space.
But if we, generally speaking, if it was 2 stories high, it would be both floors
You would have,
typically.
you would have to include it, cause it would be living space.
So then you'd have two 400 square foot boxes.
Exactly.
But as 90% of the basement homes around, they start as unfinished and then they end up finished.
And what we're saying here is this isn't really supposed to be a home, it's supposed to be a guest house.
Right.
So it's just supposed to be for somebody comes to visit ya.
But you are pretty much right about that basement being storage.
Right. So, I mean, that was the whole, we compared it with a number of different municipalities, and 800 seemed to be the number.
Good.
For years and years, that was the number that you had to have at least 800 square feet to be a dwelling in the code book. Well, since they come up with the small houses, now they kinda did away with that, but I believe that's why that number is what it is. If it's under 800 square foot, it's technically wasn't considered to be a dwelling.
Then I'd like to see a little change on that as well, if we're gonna do that as well, Bill, is, add 800 square foot, not including basement.
We'll just put living space,
Pardon?
put living space.
I
for
would
instance.
put not including basement.
Well, I mean, if you are gonna make the basement living
No,
space.
I understand where you're going to. I think we can add both of those though, but I mean, what I'm trying to define, is that a footprint? Is that 800 square feet, is that a footprint? Is that what we're gonna go with? A 20 by 40? Is that gonna be?
Well, here's the deal, okay, for instance, what they could do is, they build this humongous shop, right? And they just wanna put something inside that shop, little barn door type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not using the whole thing as a footprint, you're only using that little 800 square foot that they wanna put in the big shop for your living space. So to me, if you just say living space, and I probably should have had it on here, but we could include it. It actually says it here. Where a separate dwelling, where habitable living space.
Yeah, separate dwelling, it wouldn't be connected to an inside of a shop. I'm thinking that outside building. I'm not looking at a barnuminium here.
Well, that's where people are doing it. People wanna put up a big shop and then put a little guest quarters in their big shop.
Or next to it or on the outside.
No, they wanna put it right inside, so they don't have to build it separately. They already have the shell there. They wanna just go inside and put a little living quarters for when their buddies from out of town come in. So that's a thing now. We're seeing it more. So what we're trying to do is on these small lots, this doesn't count for when you're out on a farm or,
Yeah, this is
estate.
a separate.
Right, we're just talking about on these rural residential areas for these subdivision developments. So it already says you can only have one principal dwelling. We're just trying to say you can have an accessory dwelling, but it can't be another house. One, most of the time you probably don't have enough room to put another septic system in a well. Now, you might be able to share, but more than likely, the septic on your house is not gonna be big enough to absorb what you have to include for the accessory dwelling. So you're gonna end up putting in a second septic system. So now you just used up that much more space on your lot. And some of these lots, once again, are these little half-acre jobbies and 1-acre lots. So, of course, the setbacks from the state are gonna control that. If you can't make your setbacks, obviously you're not gonna be able to put a septic system in or an accessory dwelling. But, yeah, we're just trying to make it so we're not putting 2 homes on 1 lot.
does say habitable living space, no larger than 800 square feet.
So if somebody wanted to do what you said and put in a 400 square foot basement and put 400 square on the main floor, then we would count that as.
Well, that's what I'm trying to nail down here, I don't think you're getting my deal. What I'd like to do is, are we doing an 800 square foot footprint? And if we are, then I can put a basement in that footprint and use it for storage or whatever I wanna do. But if you're gonna go to 800 foot maximum occupancy, then that would be
So
400 and
if it's
400.
gonna be for storage, that is not living space, that's not habitable area. That's that way on any home.
Or how do you
so-
define that, Mark?
Well, we're talking habitable, how do you define habitable living space? And what you're
Uninhabitable-
saying is an unfinished basement, in your definitions, is not habitable living space.
You would have to have an egress window if that was gonna be habitable space down there. So if there was just gonna be for storage, then you would basically have them not put an egress window on that. If they put an egress window, I'm figuring it's gonna be habitable space.
Someday.
But how would you have them back it up if they saw that window in later? How would you reverse that?
It's that way with everything.
We would be off and running.
Right, that happens all the
The minute
time.
I leave, who knows what people do, you know? That's just
Well,
part of
I'm
the
not
job.
trying to I'm trying to make it less restrictive than more restrictive. I mean, I'd rather see us go with a footprint, 800 square foot footprint, so that if they decide to finish that basement, this guy can step in and he can take it from there.
I would prefer we don't even allow basement. Honestly. Really. I mean, it's supposed to be a guest house.
But we're not saying that
No.
specifically.
Yeah. Ideal is just, you're saying 800 square feet, no more than 2 bedrooms.
Robert, when you assess a home, you've got a 1,600 square foot home, ranch style home. It's got a basement. Do you list it, or do you assess it on the 1,600 square feet, or do you add basement?
So the basement would be a separate calculation. It would be
Exactly.
based on if it's unfinished and-
Exactly.
and different levels of finish, all
So,
the way
yeah.
to completely
So you've got a
finished.
1,600 square foot home. It may have a full basement,
That's right.
but the only thing that you're listing it as is a 1,600 square foot home, not the basement. Or not, and sometimes not even the upstairs, if it's a
That's right.
bedroom.
It is accounted for, but differently in our.
Differently,
in our-
right.
in our cost.
The main level is 1,600 square feet.
Right.
And it may have a mirror for a basement, but that doesn't mean you've got 200 square feet in a house.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't forgot everything. I've only been out of Europe, but it's coming back to me.
You wanna take comment?
Yeah, let's do that next and then we'll come back to it. Alright, so Bill's given his presentation. Again, we're in a public hearing. If anyone would like to comment on this item, particularly if you're opposed to this item, come forward. If you're, did I say opposed? Well, okay, we'll do it in reverse then. Anyone in favor of this item,
Anyone heard of that?
come forward. Or anybody come forward that wants to speak.
Anybody who wishes to speak.
Huh. All right, so let the record show there were none. We'll go to, commissioners, any more discussion?
The only thing I see in here is the same thing we had on the last one.
I'd like to see us put down 800 square foot footprint, whatever they wanna do.
Well, the only concern I have about that is that
And
footprint and
include-
3 stories tall.
But 2 bedrooms, if it's only 2 bedrooms, it shouldn't affect anything. He gets to collect
Wow.
more revenue. I mean, as long as we stay with the 2 bedrooms, what
But
he's
if the
asking
first-
for the septic system.
The first floor's a kitchen and a living room, and the second floor's 1 bedroom, and the third floor's 1 more bedroom.
But that's all assessed separately, not off of that original.
Well,
800
that's
square feet.
2,400 square feet
And he'll charge accordingly,
for 2,400 square feet.
but you're only
And
using
that's
800
not the
square.
intention here, right?
And just for clarification, we don't charge anything, we value.
Here's,
Ultimately,
value the property.
ultimately, it feels like a charge.
Right.
Feels like a lot of value to me.
But it, yeah, so,
But anyway, the only thing I was saying here, down at the bottom, any person / contractor who commences any work or building, if we're gonna change the other one, we should change this also to the homeowner.
I'd like to see just a little change here. I'd just like to see us, I would like to see us go with that, we're doing an 800 square foot footprint. With a maximum two bedrooms, just like he asked for, no more than 2 bedrooms. They could just knock themselves out and make all the living rooms they want.
And then they're mad at you when you tell them they can't subdivide the lot after they dumped in $300,000 on it.
I think we went past that.
No,
I don't think you've closed it yet.
We haven't
oh
closed it.
yeah, I guess I didn't close it yet, so you're right, come on up, and then I'll close it.
So Russ, Lisa Betts Marquez. Russ is full of good ideas today. I believe in property owners' rights being freer and less restricted, and I really think that's a good idea, Russ.
I think the less restricted we make these people, I think the better results we're gonna get. If they build us a bigger house out there, 2 stories, if they build us a basement, we're gonna tax it accordingly, we're not gonna lose any money.
Yeah, and people will
And
have
it
the
isn't gonna be any
flexibility.
bigger than Bill's asking for, it's gonna be the same size, only
Alright,
it's gonna be a
Thanks.
little more feasible.
Now I'm second guessing myself, I think I did close the public hearing.
You
don't think so?
didn't.
Alright, I'm gonna officially close the public hearing, and I thought I said we'll go to comments from the commissioners.
I thought you
but
did.
You did, but you didn't close it.
Didn't close the public hearing, so let me just suggest here, again, we're not, this is, being more open, giving them more options than what they had before.
You bet.
They had no option for any square feet for a second dwelling, would that be true?
There was no definition.
Okay,
So you can build anything. So we're actually restricting it, we're constricting it with this.
Yeah, we're not on a farm. You know, I mean, these are on little small lots generally that we're
Right.
only
That we're
subdivided
talking about.
to hold
These are-
one home.
These
Right?
are new style labor houses we're talking about.
Well,
well,
Airbnb is what
I
I,
call
think.
them mother-in-law houses, or
Yeah.
whatever
the
you wanna
kids
call
come
them,
back from college, right?
right, type of deal. And like you said, there's many barn-dominium things going in right now, and they're inside of a,
Yeah, especially living quarters. We're
Right.
seeing that, so
Right.
they can stick the company in there when they come to visit.
right? But what, the intent is to have a small spot of, to be, make available a small spot for this to happen. I think I understand the intent, the question is, yeah. does this-
Once again, 800 square feet was pretty universal when we did the search through the
I
other
like that.
municipalities.
And so then the question would be, yeah, what do they consider 800 square foot to be? Again, if it's 2 stories tall, is that 800 square feet? I don't know. Seems a little weird
To me, living space is whatever you have that is
Living.
habitable.
Right.
Right. If you can
And so
turn
if
it
you have-
into a bedroom, if you can turn it into a TV room, a place where people are going to actually be and occupy. Now, there are basements,
Finished,
like Russ is saying, that they don't have the egress window.
Right,
So for us, that's considered storage. Now, you're right.
But I think they could have the 2 bedrooms upstairs if they chose and have a living area downstairs or whatever, I mean, but it'd still be living. They don't have to have an egress for a living area, just a sleeping area, right?
No, they changed that.
Did they?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, you at least have to have one if there's any habitable space in the basement.
Is that right? Okay.
So
That's smart.
generally,
That's
if,
smart, I think that's
if
great.
there's gonna be a bedroom, they want it in a bedroom.
I think that's smart, I think it'll save lives, it's all good.
Same with a smoke detector. You have to have a smoke detector down there whether or not there's actually a bedroom, so they still make you have one down there.
That's good. I would like to include a footprint in that, you know, that's an 800 square footprint that they can include a basement. They can, cause we don't care, we're only gonna use the 800 square feet, whether they put a basement or not. It shouldn't affect what our thoughts are, what people are gonna use it for. We shouldn't restrict that. If we're happy with an 800 square foot building, we should be happy with an 800 square foot building with a basement. Why would we restrict the people that wanna put it in there?
I don't
No, I'm
have any
just saying.
problem with the basement.
I would
I
like
don't,
I'd like to see
and
it.
I don't think Bill has one either, as long as it's, unfinished to begin with. Then he doesn't have a
I
problem
mean,
with
we just
basement.
have it in here where it's,
My bigger
living
story is
space.
when you say footprint, how many stories can that go?
As much as they want, what do we care? Do you really care? I
Uh,
don't care.
I don't, but it might not
That'd
meet
be
the,
between him and Bill.
it may not meet the definitions of,
That would fall into whatever zoning they're in and stuff. I mean, Lake Minnetonka, you can go, you've got a height restriction of 24 feet. So you have to stay in a height restriction. As long as you're meeting height restrictions, you should be able to go as high as you like.
Well, as far as your assessment, Robert's gonna assess it differently
He's
anyway.
gonna, he's gonna
Doesn't matter.
assess it, that's right.
It doesn't
He'll
matter.
assess it.
he's
He'll
gonna
assess
use
it the way
his
it should be.
criteria.
He's gonna use his criteria. A finished basement is different than one that's not
Mo-
finished.
My point is, I don't wanna restrict it to where we're saying 800 square feet, and then they say, well, we wanna put in a basement. Next guy that takes Bill's job says, well, it says 800 square feet, you can only build a 20 by 20 with a basement. So now we got a 20 by 20 nothing burger there, what are we gonna do with it? I'd like to
Say that
just, I
again,
would just like to give it a footprint.
I didn't understand that.
You didn't understand it?
The
Okay.
20 by 20
Okay, so
going
it's,
forward.
huh? Well, 20 by 40.
Oh,
would be
40,
No, a 20 by 20
okay.
is 400 square feet, with a second floor would be 800 square feet. So they're reading it as 800 square feet. What I'm asking for is a footprint, so we can say the biggest we can go is a 20 by 40, a 10 by 80, or whatever you wanna do, but the footprint's gotta be 800 square feet. And whatever you do, and then if you build a second story, or if you build a basement, we don't care. Why should we care? As long as they have 2 bedrooms, it meets the 2-bedroom limit, it meets the 800 square feet footprint. What do we care if they build it with a basement and put 2 floors above? I don't care. It's not, I don't live there.
do you have a definition of footprint?
Right.
For the house.
Yeah.
It'd be the base,
But-
base footprint of that. of
So,
the
but
house.
for your purposes, you actually, you have something, cause I don't think we have anything
Yeah,
in
so
there
for,
that actually
for
says
appraisal,
footprint.
we're gonna look at the dimensions of the
Right.
house, so the base.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we got something to fall
How
back
about
on.
main floor space would be 800 square feet.
Yeah, just be your main floor,
800 square foot.
excluding basement, second story, third.
That's what it is now.
We don't care what it,
Yeah, that's what it is
no,
now.
it doesn't
It's
say
basic.
that. It says, right now, it says 800 square feet, with no more than 2 bedrooms. So if somebody came in and wanted to build a 2-story unit, they'd have to build it 40, or 20 by 20, which is 400 square feet. And the next stack would be another 400 square feet to get 800 square feet. I want a little more definition that says we can have an 800 square foot footprint, and I don't care if you put a basement, I don't care if you put a second floor.
The only difference is gonna be is they're going to be assessed on the 400 square feet.
Good for them, I'm happy for
Yeah.
them.
And not,
So,
and the
but I
other
just-
400 square feet is going to be assessed differently,
Yeah.
whether it be upstairs or downstairs.
Right, but I want to square the footprint
Yeah.
so that they can go lower, and that way they can increase the size, but they have an 800 square foot main floor footprint. That's all I'm asking. I don't know. Just seems logical that we would do it that way.
And that's the
Well,
maximum. We're not
so
talking about minimum.
We're talking about
That's your
maximum.
maximum.
That's right.
And we're, again, this is a second accessory dwelling on a lot that already has probably a primary dwelling. This is a accessory dwelling, and we're allowing 800 square feet. You want to allow them more than that.
One of my main reasons for this is I own a few homes that have slab floors in them. They have no basement.
Right.
So if somebody would buy that and make it their primary home, they could go out and build this secondary little home there and put a basement under that and have tornado shelter. They have a lot of good advantages by doing it. I think we just let people do what they wanna do. They're creative. I think we can come up with some good results.
I don't, Bill, I think has already said this does not restrict basements. You can have a basement. It needs to be unfinished
Where
if
does
it's
it say
20.
that? It says 800 square foot.
It says
No-
habitable
Yeah.
living space, and he doesn't consider an unfinished basement to be habitable living space.
What do you consider a basement? The only way I would consider it that way if there was a dirt floor in it, that's the only way I would say that. You'd have to have a dirt floor before I'd say it's uninhabitable.
Well-
By code, it's what we're talking about. Once you put the egress window down there, now you've basically calling it a habitable space. Similar as a bedroom. The minute you put a closet in there, now it's a bedroom. If there's none, it's an office, you know.
But you got the bedrooms nailed down right there, and I'm okay with the two-bedroom thing.
Okay, well, we need to move forward here, one way or the other.
I
and get it.
move that we, accept the changes made to section 17(1) to, change the definition of guest home to accessory dwelling and accessory dwelling unit as defined. An accessory dwelling unit, a unit or habitable living space no larger than 800 square feet and no more than
Sorry, that's
2 bedrooms.
Left out a W, sorry.
2 for TWO, but, as it's written.
I'll second that.
Alright, so my understanding of the motion is that we're proposing to accept the language that Bill has
As
suggested.
presented.
As
And the only
presented.
thing I would
feel
say
it's
with
I think
that,
that's way too vague.
well, and Russ, I think that's something that can be, changed, you know,
Right now's a good
but I
time to
think
do
for
it.
now,
Right now is a good
to add that accessory dwelling unit to it, I think helps.
My only other question on this, we have a motion and a second, right? So we're in the discussion phase. So, Russ, did you say something about, or did someone say something about down here somewhere it talked about the item that we changed earlier?
Ken had started talking about that.
I was on the wrong sheet.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were, but I didn't
Yeah,
want to say
cause
anything.
I didn't find it, I'm thinking, okay,
You
no
started reading
problem.
off the other sheet.
No problem, I just wanted to be
Going
sure.
Back in 87.
I wanted to be sure that we were on the,
I'm
all
all
on the same page, so to speak. So,
I thought that sounded mighty familiar.
I know, I realize it.
I
Well,
wasn't gonna
I
pick on
wasn't
you.
keeping up with flipping the pages. you
I'm
know,
gonna
it's okay.
be, so it'll be my intention to vote with the motion, but understanding that this may need some clarification. And I think clarification in the written form, in the, proposal, for the long term is better than just simply leaving it up to each individual director each time we change directors, which isn't very often lately, for that office, but,
It's
just
too vague
thinking,
for.
Come on,
It's
Powerball.
too vague for.
so,
It's just too
anyway,
vague for
just,
me. Okay.
yeah, keep that in mind, I guess. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Okay.
You have 4 yeses, a 1 no, the nay being Reisig.
All right,
Can I be
So-
excused for a second? I have a problem with our little granddaughter.
Okay.
I need to call her.
motion's carried. And we'll excuse. Well, yeah, we could even do that.
Thank you.
So this gets us through all of the items for,
If you want.
Mr. Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your work on all that. And, Heather, it's been suggested here that we take a break at this point. So we're gonna try and take an 8-minute break. If Russ isn't done by that time,
Okay,
then we'll come back and reconvene, so.
if this is something we could do without Russ being here, then we can
Yes.
go on too, I'm fine.
Okay, are you okay with that?
As long as we have a quorum.
I'm
that's all
absolutely
that
fine
matters.
with it.
Alright, so Heather,
He
Heather,
changed his mind.
we changed our
Come
mind.
back.
We're thinking this can be minimal enough that we can do it with the 4 of us and,
These
All
should
right.
be pretty easy for you.
We need a motion.
yeah, so we're going into Board of Equalization, we need a motion to do that.
I make a motion to move into the Board of Equalization.
And I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Board of Equalization, we'll go ahead and vote.
Ooh, you gotta get,
I'm just gonna keep this.
Yeah, vote for him. Or abstain,
abstaining, right?
abstain for him. That's what I meant.
Do it, Kelly, do it.
That's what I thought I said.
You have 4 yeses.
All right, motion's carried. So we're in Board of Equalization, discuss and consider approval of one vehicle exemption for Panhandle Daycare, Inc., Scotts Bluff.
All right, this is a 2014 Kia Sedona that is used to transport children to and from school and other educational activities, business-related activities, grocery shopping for the center, errands, and necessary shopping for the business. It is a tax loss of $26.60, and this is a regular renewal for this vehicle. It has been previously exempt.
Which one is Panhandle Daycare, Inc.?
Overland.
West Overland, just west.
Yeah, and
of
it's a
Dollar General.
501, I believe that's a 501(c)(3).
The one out past Dollar
Evan-
General, they're
Evan-
saying?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Okay, all right. And that we've done it before,
Yeah.
all right. Any discussion?
Hold on just a second. You could probably explain it. You're on the board.
I am. It is a 501c3.
Okay, nonprofit, so, meets all your criteria, Heather, so.
Yes.
I move that we approve this tax exemption for Panhandle Daycare Inc.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve the vehicle exemption for Panhandle Daycare, Inc. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 4 yeses?
All right, motion's carried. Next item, discuss and consider approval of one vehicle exemption for Summit Christian College Gearing.
And so this one is a 2019 Honda Accord. It says the vehicle is used to transport students and faculty to and from churches and college functions. It has previously been tax exempt also, and it is a tax loss of $81.60.
Move approval of the tax exemption for Summit Christian College.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second for approval of the exemption for Summit Christian College. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 4 yeses.
All right, so motion's carried. And the next item is to, receive the tax list corrections, which, we were given these in our packet. Are there any discussion or any, question about any of these?
Mr. Harris, can I make a comment about some upcoming tax list corrections that the board will be seeing?
Sure.
So, as you all know, we have a homestead program in the state of Nebraska. We facilitate that program by taking in the applications. They go to the state, and they reimburse for taxes that are, where there are residents that meet the criteria, both income and value-wise. Also, the state audits their own work every 3 years, so they're about 3 years behind, sometimes 4 years behind. But I wanted to give the board a heads up, as well as the treasurer, that my office received in, they did their audit for 2022, and we have around, somewhere between 80 and 85 tax list corrections that they gave us the incorrect percentage of, allowable percentage for the homestead in 2022. So we have to go back and do those tax list corrections. And my office is working on putting together a spreadsheet together for the treasurer, because that will have some impact. Some of them are gonna go up, and some of them will go down, but whatever you see, 80-some tax list corrections, just know that that was from the audit that the state did on their financial piece of it. Yes. they consider this part of their 2025 process. They're late this year. But they will make us do a taxless correction on those. Yeah, I mean, that's true, and it is 2026, right? But, right, yeah, but, you know, anyway, I just wanna make sure that the board was aware we're gonna have a large number on the next meeting, and that's the reason behind those, is
You've gone back to
the audit.
2023 on some of these, right? This one, so next meeting will be
We're
2022.
gonna have around, like I said, between 80 and 85. Most of them are gonna be 2022, homestead exemptions. So, I can't control the
Wasn't
timing
that
of when
when
the
the state
state
was-
handles their audits. Obviously, it would be really nice for them to do their internal audits
Don't
quicker.
they, yeah, aren't they, so
that-
that's on the homestead exemption. They're the ones that figured out that amount in the first place, weren't they?
That's right. And
So-
part of the delay, I don't necessarily agree with the 3-year delay on their audit, but they actually match up the income records that are reported by taxpayers to the tax returns, the 1040s that are filed by these homeowners. So if they find a discrepancy, that will sometimes change the percent that they're eligible for, because they go in 10% increments from 0 to 100%.
Right, so, but if someone has a house and there's $2,000 worth of tax on that house, and they get homestead exemption at whatever the percentage is, let's say their portion of homestead exemption is 1,000. They would pay us 1,000 themselves, and the other 1,000 would come from the state.
From the state, that's
We
correct.
would get our 2,000.
That's right,
And it is the state that determined that split
that's right.
with their
Yeah, and-
application that went to the state.
Right, and what will happen is basically a correction will be done, and that split will change. It may go from 100% to 80%, and that's something that does affect Heather, and it's kind of late breaking, but she will have to split that money out appropriately.
And
Because you're exactly right, the percentage that is approved is reimbursed by the state to the county, and we get that in a couple of different disbursements throughout the year that the treasurer does.
If I were a homeowner and my application was approved by the state, and now they're coming back and saying, yeah, we took another look at it, I think I tell the state to go pack sand.
And it's not gonna end up coming back to the, well, yes,
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
but what if they're long gone and someplace else?
I don't
That-
think we can go back and collect it anyway, can we?
That's something that we'll have to find out, but if indeed the state ends up owing us money on that, we can go back to the state and apply for the money on that. As far as a property owner, goes, if they owe money, there is a statute that says that after you guys do the correction and we issue or approve the corrections and we issue a corrected tax statement, they have 30 days to come in without paying any interest. After 30 days, they have to pay interest that goes all the way back to that tax year.
Even though the state made the mistake and not the homeowner.
Well-
Oftentimes
Robert's
what oftentimes what happens is, and I think Kelly and Robert both know this just from having worked in the assessor's office, it's because somebody didn't file something on their taxes or something correctly, didn't give them all of the information when they applied.
That-
Could be that somebody took money out of an IRA and didn't report that, and so it affects
Right.
their actual homestead
But
application.
that should have been caught when that application went to the state.
You are not wrong.
Yeah. No, no one disagrees. The problem is that they do verify because the homeowner, when they apply, they provide financial information. There's one sheet as part of the application package. And if they're untruthful or make a mistake, which, I would hope in most of these instances it's a mistake, they forgot something, they do compare that once 1040, information is available to them, they do compare it. Why it takes 3 years, don't really know. But it, you know, to add on to what Heather was saying, that, so when we do these tax list corrections, I also have to fill out a form, it's called a 458X, that I fill out and approve, goes to Heather, Heather will approve it, and then that will straighten out the monies between the county and the
So
state.
if the state owes us any money, we'll get paid back, but you probably will have customers that get money back, and you'll probably have customers that have to come in and pay.
Correct.
Cause that's usually how it goes. I've never seen that many in one tax year. That's a lot.
And if they are technically are supposed to pay, but don't, then who's on the hook?
What happens is, so say somebody doesn't come in and pay that, somebody that's had homestead 23, 24, 25, and just don't think that they owe anything anymore, because that happens a lot. If the property is eligible for tax sale, it wouldn't be this March, it would be next March. Nobody comes in and pays that, that investor would pay those taxes, and it could potentially get foreclosed on if it were to go on that long. Generally, they don't, but every once in a while, there are
So it would
some that
go
go
on
into tax
a
sale. So
delinquent
eventually, it
tax.
probably will get collected. It's just kind of an unfortunate situation.
Because of the
But-
error that the state made. Yeah.
I can remember one of the first years I was treasurer, we had, they came back with their audit for like 22, 23, 24. They came back with like 3 years almost at once, and we had one family who ended up having to pay taxes on all 3 of those years because they hadn't filed correctly, and it cost them a lot of money. It was a sad deal.
Well, and I understand. You say file correctly, but somebody looked at it, somebody approved it, and those individuals were on homestead exemption.
Oh, absolutely, I
That's
don't, yeah.
the part that gets
Yeah,
to me, is
yeah.
that it's not the homeowner's fault. Whether they did it intentionally or not, it doesn't matter. It was still approved.
Oh, yeah.
No,
some point.
no, I don't agree with that. I mean, they approved it based upon what the homeowner told them.
They approved it, but yeah,
Right.
based on
And the
what they knew.
homeowner may have done it intentionally, the homeowner may not have. But the state didn't go check them before they approved it.
They,
They checked the information they gave them.
yeah, and most of the time when the assessor's office gets corrections on homestead, they don't go back this far.
Right,
They must have done a full audit on the program,
yeah.
is my
Okay.
guess.
So I know last year, I think maybe we had a handful,
Yeah,
for the prior year, but, I don't know if there's an anomaly in 2022 or what the situation was, but,
All right.
When they
anyway, just as a
submit,
heads up. What's that?
when they submit this, it's more than just the word. I mean, there has to be documentation to back up
Yeah,
whatever it is. that
the
they're
state
saying.
does not require any backup documentation. There's a 458I form for
Really?
income, and basically they just fill it out. And they're supposed to be taking information if they're tax filers off of their 1040, as well as any medical expenses that are out of pocket. And there's a separate section if you're, cause a lot of our seniors don't file taxes, aren't required to file taxes. So there's 2 different sections, but it's all 100% reliant on the homeowner to provide that information up front. Subsequent to that, they do the audit, back it up against 1040 records, and maybe other records, I'm not sure. They kinda keep us in the dark about that process. But anyway, I wanna let the board know about this because this is an abnormality, and you're gonna see a big bump in those probably the next meeting.
So, yeah, the concern isn't the amount that we have to deal with, it's gonna be the differential, and if we're gonna be the ones holding the bag.
and we'll, like I said, we will, because of this, we will be able to go back to the state and get a corrected amount should they owe. If they don't owe and we owe them, they'll take it off of probably our last tax, homestead tax payment of the year in June.
They're gonna, yeah, which means
You've got on here-
those that we would be responsible to collect then from the
Yeah.
homeowner.
Right.
And, yeah, I'm not liking that.
Yeah.
So it will be a lot of tax list corrections for us, where we'll be sending out a lot of letters and a lot of information.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll talk about it more at the next meeting then, if that's when you have them.
Yeah,
we
well,
got
we'll
one
get
here.
them processed. We were working on putting the spreadsheet together to make it a little bit easier for everybody in addition to running
Because
the
it'll
tax
affect
list.
our our over under report that you guys get every year from our office.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
All
have
right.
one here on this one, I wanted to ask a question, this homestead exemption, where this, 11.810, they're removing the homestead exemption totally on that one? 810.
Yeah, so that was one that was reversed,
So
so,
they totally reversed that one, so that's a big hit on us.
yeah. But this, what doesn't have to do with this particular piece of the audit that they've done. Let me see here, which one was this, Martindale?
What year is that, 25 years?
I'll look at it real quick for you.
which one are we talking about?
It's 810 on the if you look at the cover sheet, look at the front cover, Mark, it's 810, Martindale, I believe. The last three numbers.
Last three numbers are 810.
Yeah, it says it's removing the homestead exemption on that sheet there.
So that's one that when we get the correction on our side, we will send a letter and a new tax statement to those people and try and get them to come in within 30 days so that they aren't penalized on any interest if it's not for the current tax year. If it's for the current tax year, we'll send them a new statement and it will hopefully be
So
collected
you
at the
can
normal
bill
time.
this one, this
What?
30
This is not part of what I'm talking about. This is just our regular, one. So on the one you asked about, removing the homestead exemption over income. So this is one that the state came back, but they did a onesie, onesie twosie, they'll send them back.
So does the homeowner pay that difference then?
So get that process, yeah, they'll have to pay
Okay,
the
that's
difference,
my question.
and they'll get a tax bill from
But
them.
it'll
and
affect,
these are-
it affects a couple things on a tax statement. It affects the tax credit that's out there. It affects the school tax credit. So if there's any other money from the state that the state needs to cover on these, we will have to make adjustments to all of those things before we send an actual tax bill.
Yeah.
So,
I was displeased when I got the email,
yeah.
For
Okay,
sure.
so obviously you guys will have us, the long list probably the next meeting.
Right.
And then you'll probably have to go over more explanation at that time.
And you'll have to approve them before we can process them.
Okay,
So,
I think so,
I
just so we know that
Yeah.
for that.
just so you know
Now-
it's coming.
Yeah.
Right, I appreciate it. And so we're now talking about the list of tax list corrections that we got tonight.
That's
And I
right.
have a question maybe before we,
I would move that we approve as
Just a
submitted.
minute, we need to talk.
Oh, we can
okay,
still
well,
discuss it.
yeah. So we have a motion, do we have a second to approve them?
I'll second.
Okay, so my question is, this particular one that Russ was asking about ends in 810. That one had to do with homestead,
That's right.
but not all of them have to do
No,
with
the lower-
homestead at
lower-
all.
No, that's right.
No, so usually the ones that you would get throughout the year for the previous year,
Okay.
not 3 years ago.
And many
So-
times we're dealing with personal property
Could be.
and some things like that. And so.
Right, these are not all homestead related.
Right,
It could
and
be,
s-
could be homestead related, where there's an income issue and the state comes back. It could be that we made a mistake in the assessor's office, we need to do a taxless correction.
And we
Could be a lot
only
of things.
get these because the homeowner has come back and said, hey, but we need to make a correction here. And in most cases, I'm assuming that means that, we're gonna credit them. And again, normally it's not tremendous amounts.
Right,
And we are gonna have to somehow credit them back. Would that be true?
yeah, the volume of taxless corrections is usually not very high.
Sometimes
Right,
it's
yeah.
due to, like he said, sometimes it's due to a more current year changing in the homestead process. Sometimes it has to do with a mobile home moving, something going away,
Could be a
personal
lot.
property being sold. So the taxes get accelerated. I mean, there's kind of a various amount of reasons, but
Yeah.
most of them aren't that major. But like with the 85, I appreciate knowing that they're coming because that's gonna be a big project
Yeah.
in our office.
So on these, there's only a difference of $1,000, it looks like overall.
Right.
Yeah.
typically
So,
not very much.
yeah, normally they're not a great amount.
Normally, it's not that much, so.
All right,
So anyway, I wanna take the opportunity to let you guys know and let the treasurer know, cause that's just late breaking information. And
Okay.
I know that she wanted to needs to know that early as well. So.
Yeah, cause we need to
Appreciate it.
know because, you know, in a smaller collection month, if a lot of them, not always, but sometimes they go back to a Turk decision. You know, if it's something that's gonna throw a specific fund into the negative, we wanna know so that we can get that entity to cover their negative before the end of the month and those kinds of things.
Or
I'm
tax
just thinking
loss,
about-
is it 17?
Yeah, what this means is there's a lot of work for my office and a lot of work
For Heather's,
office.
yeah. I'm just thinking about if they're on homestead exemption, and then I suppose it could make sense for some of them still to take it to Turk in some cases, but
Yeah,
I would think in many times they
yeah, no,
wouldn't
those
need
people
to.
probably won't. I'm just talking about like a regular Turk case
Right.
that you guys went to Turk for or
Right,
something
and if
like
they
that.
won, then we would owe
Yeah,
some money
like
back.
if you had a large property that
Right.
went to Turk or,
So those changes like that would end up coming through us here, right?
For,
Yeah.
for Turk, yeah.
The
We've
Turk
got a few
changes.
Turk cases that are pending and no dates set. One big one is the old SWBC building out there.
All right.
That's a big dollar, Turk case as far as tax dollars.
Which
Okay.
building?
The old, SWBC building.
Oh,
that the
up on the
school
hill
bought.
out there, yeah.
So the previous owner, they filed a
Yeah.
Turk case in 2023, I wanna say. Hasn't been heard yet. I expect
So
it
it
to be
could
heard
be.
sometime.
Yeah.
It could be
that,
substantial.
that
could be
one will be
substantial.
ugly if they win.
Or whatever else they decide to use it for.
Okay.
Yeah.
We appreciate the heads up on that. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve this tax list corrections. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
All right, motion's carried. Now, Steve, I am gonna tell you that we are gonna take a break now.
After we leave Board of Equalization?
What's that?
Can we leave Board of Equalization?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Need a motion to leave the Board of
I
Equalization.
move to leave the Board of Equalization.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. We'll go ahead and vote.
You have 5 yeses?
All right, motion's carried. All right, so we are gonna take an 8-minute break. So that would be 6:20. That we'll wanna restart. Six. Item 6. What is V and one? V is 5, and then one S.
You know, at one time we talked about changing the meeting
Okay.
to match other ones.
So I thought,
6 or
but
6:30 at night or something.
some of those
I'm glad we
high
don't,
roll-
cause ours historically runs 2 to 3 hours all the time.
Okay,
There's a reason.
All right. Say, it's 6:20, meeting will come back to order. We'll continue going down the agenda, we're down to the general agenda items. No, we're not, we're to the road and bridge items.
Here we go.
Steve Baird, the highway superintendent. First item is to discuss and consider professional services agreement with Speece Lewis Engineers. Steve?
Good evening. This is our annual agreement that we do with Speece Lewis Engineers for their engineering services. It's really 5 pages of long definition of what they're gonna provide for us and that we agree to pay them for their services. The one I'll just cite you is on page, under the insurance, page 4, I believe it is. Yes, 4. Under the, you see some red lines crossed out. In section 9B there, Jason overlooked this and thought that they should probably take that out of there because it kind of conflicted with some other terms in their limits of liability. So we sent it back to them and they, of course, took that out there. So
So 9B is removed.
9B in the red that is crossed out is removed.
It's not in red for us, but
It's
it's
not in
those-
red for you?
There's
Okay.
lines through it.
Oh, okay, mine's,
It's the
well, yours
last
is in
line or
blue,
two.
yes.
Oh, it's lined out.
It's in blue, yeah, it should be lined out.
There's a
Right.
few, there's a few places.
Yeah, I guess it is in blue, but we can barely tell that.
Really? Oh, okay.
I can't see it.
But yeah, that was the change that Jason, we sent back to him. He looked at this in January, we sent it back, they changed that. And usually we do this in January, but I didn't get it back in time for the last January meeting, and of course I missed the last meeting, I was in Norfolk, so that's why we're kinda late doing this. And then I believe Gerald looked it over here yesterday, and I believe thought it was okay with that in there too, so.
So it has been reviewed by,
Yes.
okay?
I have a question. Is it safe to assume that this is one of those contracts where we don't have to put it out for bid?
Yes,
Services.
this is a services
Right,
agreement,
okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so, your recommendation is for us to approve this agreement,
Yes.
okay? I'd ask if there's any discussion on this item.
Yeah, there's no completion on this 9B. It says that, breach of contract toward including negligence or otherwise exceed the, and there doesn't have anything after the, so what's after the there?
Should say applicable work order.
What?
Applicable work order is what mine says, did it not come on
It's
yours?
scratched out
It's
on
crossed
Yes,
out on
yes.
mine.
Yes, it's crossed out.
Should be
cro-
in there. Something should be in there after the. It doesn't have anything after the. On mine.
Yeah, so
What do yours have?
so it should say the insurance limits outlined in paragraph
Oh,
5C. Oh, yeah, it's underlined.
So
took out
you crossed out
aggregate.
these.
Oh, it's not
Underlined
crossed
those.
out, it's underlined.
What's
Yes,
underlined
it's
is what's
underlined.
inserted.
Right,
Oh,
little
okay,
difference.
we thought that was crossed out.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that
No, I
paragraph
got
five
you,
is.
got you
underlined.
now.
Okay,
Yeah, if it had been red, I would have. I got, okay, I'm good with that. I just didn't get it. I didn't see it.
okay.
Right.
Any other discussion on this? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the, contract with, what is it here, Space Lewis?
Spees Lewis.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to accept, the service agreement. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion is approved. All right, Steve, we can go ahead with the, second, item, which is discuss and consider work order to professional services agreement.
And this pretty well just covers their fees that they charge on the second page. If we call them out to do a survey, it shows what they're going to charge to come out and do a survey for us. Really not much to that either, just their service fees. This is beside, it, I guess, would lie outside of a project. If I have them come in and do an engineering project for us, say like the river bridge that they did, they'll have their own separate engineering proposal to do that project. So anything outside of that scope, these would be the fees that would be in addition to that. But in all of our bridge projects, they line out a whole agreement, engineering agreement, what it costs to do the engineering for that specific project, so.
Okay,
I move to approve the work order to professional services agreement.
I'll second that.
have a motion and a second to approve the agreement. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried.
Just to clarify, Robert brought up about bidding out for the engineering. Engineering is one thing that we do not have to bid out for. So,
Okay. All right. Here, I'll sign this one if you want me to. Okay, so the first item under general agenda items is discuss and consider approval of the required 4-year update to the Scotts Bluff County Public Transit Title VI Plan and authorize the chairman to sign the plan. Kirk?
Okay, Title VI is civil rights, essentially. So every year, we're required by the FTA to update our plan with any language, anything that. This year, it's pretty much the same as 2022's. We're hoping to get some of this stuff lined up. We have a triennial review, then this is every 4 years. And so part of my discussion when I go to DC is, can we put these all together so we're not doing, they're not staggered all different years. But the only change to this really this year is I have a training, safety, and compliance coordinator. Tara Prowse works for me. She and I have both done the training, the Title VI training, so we know the process for handling complaints and working through any of that. We know the rules for publications, limited English proficient population in the area is high enough for non-English speakers that speak primarily Spanish that we have to have what's called a language assistance plan. So anything we publish, public hearings, all that have to be in both English and Spanish. And then we have translators available through NDOT. A lot of times we'll use Google Translate, or I'll use Microsoft Pilot to translate documents into Spanish. Seems to work well for us. NDOT used to work with UNO. Now they brought everything in-house to NDOT. They have an NDOT Office of Civil Rights. So they assisted us with this. It looks a little different. The language is the same. The individual I've been working with, I've been corresponding back and forth, and I had not heard back from her. The only particular question I had on our plan is with our fixed route, there's some specific language in the plan regarding if we make changes to our routes or where our routes go, we have to have supporting data to show that we're not discriminating against people that are have limited English proficiency, or they're below the poverty level or whatever. But our routes are specifically designed to hit those communities. So she had not gotten back to me. So the only thing I will say is we may have to come back with an amendment to this to add that fixed route language. But this is the plan they sent to me. I've read it over.
Who has not gotten back to you?
NDOT office, the Office of Civil Rights. We've been emailing back and forth. She's also trying. They took this on at NDOT, and I don't know how many people are in their office. The individual I've been working with, but there's
This is a state entity?
yeah, 70 rural transit agencies that all have to do this year, and I'm the only one that needs this fixed route language. But this will get us in compliance for everything outside of that, and I'm waiting for her to verify if we have to do an amendment to add the fixed route language in to show that we have addressed that issue in our routes. Do not discriminate in any way, shape, or form. And then this goes through how we handle complaints, the logs. It has to go through NDOT for review, all that. And it's kind of a standard procedure for every entity per FTA guidelines and Title VI requirements. This is in addition to the ADA stuff we have to do as well. So basically, if there's any questions, I can answer the best I can. It's a lot of verbiage. So we haven't, since I've been here 8+ years, we have never had a formal civil rights complaint, which is good.
Okay.
I move to approve the 4-year plan and authorize the chairperson to sign that plan. I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the plan and authorize the chair to sign the plan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. All
Just
right,
have him
we
sign it twice
appreciate it,
for me.
Kurt. Okay. All right.
And then he can
So right here.
Yep, right there, and then today's date underneath.
Are claims and payroll registers coming around yet?
Yeah. All right, I'll give it to Kim.
I moved it on somewhere.
Which one?
Oh, I have.
Those two
Already put 'em
packets.
away.
All right, does that look okay
Little apology would be in order.
for Kelly?
Thanks, Kurt.
Guess that's for Kelly. Okay, we're up to the next item, discuss and consider approval of appointing Charles Evelo to the Scotts Bluff County Veteran Service Committee to complete the term for Raymond Schultz. We had a letter in our packet. Mike, do you wanna explain this a little bit?
Yeah, Raymond Schultz, passed away, and so they need to fulfill his position on the committee. And so, they nominated, Mr. Evanlow, and I've happened to work with this gentleman frequently. He's very active in the VFW, he's very active in supporting the different VSO, activities within the county, and, he's a solid guy, he's very ethical, and I have complete confidence in his ability to perform.
Okay. Very good. And so I think this talks about, this is to be appointed to complete a 5-year term, which was from 6/20/24 to 6/30/2029. And, also being recommended by Matt Myers as well. And so, any discussion on this item?
I think Mike pretty well covered everything I'd wanna hear.
Right.
And I personally know Chuck too, and I think that's a good fit.
Choice.
Make that motion, Mike, I think that's.
Well, I
right.
move that we approve Charles Evanlow, for the, Scotts Bluff County Veterans Service Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to, accept, Charles Evelo for the, Scotts Bluff County Veteran Service Committee. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
All right, motion's carried. We'll go to the next item. Miss Jackie, you've been waiting a long time. To receive the Scotts Bluff County Extension Annual Report. And, it was a fairly lengthy report. We got it digitally. And
Yeah.
then she had the original, copy. But, we all got it digitally as well.
Basically, that's all that you receive it. I don't know that you need a formal vote or anything. It's just our annual report that we submit to you every year. It has our own impact statements, our county impact statements, and then our narratives that we, complete for every board meeting for our board members so that they are aware of the work that we're doing and our impact there. Nothing new or added to it, the same information. And it's just to help keep you abreast of the work that we're doing. Any questions?
Appreciate everything you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To look through this, there's a lot of detail.
There is.
And I think it's important that, people get an idea of just how much you do.
Yeah, the outreach that we do, we reach a lot of, citizens in Scotts Bluff County. And, myself, I reach, the southern panhandle is my, area that I service, but, yeah, just here in Scotts Bluff County, we have a huge reach, especially with youth.
Yeah.
So, it's impressive the work that they do in 4-H.
As I was reviewing that packet today, my 7-year-old granddaughter happened to be right there beside me, and I come across one of those pictures with all the youth standing around the table doing things, and I don't even know what they were doing. And she said, "What are they doing?" And so I tried to explain to her the best I could, which wasn't very good. But she said, "Well, maybe I should be part of that," and so maybe someday she will be. So
That's
maybe I
good.
can get her there. What age do they need to be?
8.
So, next year maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just to
So-
give you an idea of, the, I guess, the cross-section of the people that they touch, there was a tourism meeting today where they talked about, the Old West Balloon Fest. And Jana, is it?
Correct, Jana Schwartz.
Schwartz, she has an after-school program where kids were learning all about these balloons and all the information that went into that. That's pretty amazing. And I
Yeah.
just thought, I didn't realize that, but
Jana participates, she's a volunteer at the Balloon Fest, and she's been a volunteer for several years. So she's taken that love for balloons and has brought it into the work that she does with children after school. She is now our new 4-H educator as well, and will continue hopefully to bring that to the youth.
Any other comments? We appreciate all your work as always.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. No actions needed, you said. Okay, so it looks like we're jumping down to old business. Any new or different information on time clock plus and payroll processes? Robert?
I gave an update at our last meeting, with regard to payroll, accounts payable and payroll. We did roll out a new system, in January. It, took a monumental effort by a lot of different people, and, but it was successful. Everybody got paid. Accounts payables, working good. So, just, getting accustomed to the system, so that's a really good thing. We will be looking, I think I mentioned this in our last meeting, in early March, we're gonna be looking at the time clock system that's, being, offered by MIPS now. So we would be able to, connect with our current MIPS products and talk to the systems, could talk, and possibly eliminate some of the manual processes that we have today, so that's kinda where we're at.
It's kinda-
More to come in early March.
But this new, process will include where we can bring in the union things where the old process doesn't, the union hours and stuff.
The current time clock system does, provide services to the unions, so they have a separate time clock.
Yeah,
that
but I
they
mean, this
use.
will be a one-time clock, really.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
But you're doing 2 time clocks to make that one work right now.
Yeah, well, they're set up two different ways, so the detention center, all the unions have their contract for that, and then the non-union employees have a separate instance of that time clock system. But potentially, we could have it all in one system,
That's
if it
what
works the way that we think it's going to. They've already rolled it out to some counties where they have unions, but again, this is kind of a test drive on, early March. There's gonna be several of us, looking at a demo of the product.
This was information you and I got at NACO when we talked to those
Right,
guys, what I
yeah.
remember from that conversation.
And we got to look at some of it. They've done some more development since December.
Really?
And we were waiting for some of that, additional development, which will be done by the end of February. Hence, we're gonna be reviewing it, some of the officials. As soon as I get a date scheduled, I'll be sending out a meeting invite for the officials to come take a look at it.
And all of this is part of the MIPS system, which is part of NACO.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and just as a reminder, we use MIPS in the register of deeds, the, clerk, the treasurer, the assessor's office, now the management accounting office for budget, because we have the budget package in there as well. And there is a small piece of the MIPS system that is provided to the clerk of the district court for random name selection for jury duty.
Isn't there considerable savings by going with MIPS on this, because we have all these other,
If the system is what we think it is, we'll save about $10,000 a year.
And I said, MIPS is part of NACO, and NACO being Nebraska NACO, not the national NACO. Wouldn't that be
Correct.
true?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other, I don't think there's any action to take there. It's just, information, update. All right. And then we'll go to the next item, which is, USDA Wildlife Services Program. I don't know that, has anyone talked to any other commissioners that have said anything?
you got something?
Only in that, I found the original state statute, which is no big deal, but it didn't have a date on it for me, and so I couldn't tell Kelly when we actually discussed it, so the only thing I did was I found that original state statute information
May I?
in my file.
Do you have that? Is that it?
Oh, let me see. No, it's really not.
Okay.
I
I was
thought,
gonna pull it up while you guys were in exec session, so.
I might
Don't
have-
worry about it, don't worry about it.
Okay, all right, so we'll go to the next part, which is public comments. The Board of Commissioners will receive public comments on items discussed at this meeting or suggestions for items of discussion at a future board meeting. The board will not take action on comments presented this date. Is there anyone here that wants to speak under the public comments section? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead with the board and staff reports with discussion. And I want to be sure that we also, if anyone has anything to say about legislation, go ahead and do it at this same time. We'll cover both of those items in the same discussion. So, I don't know where so Ms. Kelly, we'll start with you if you want to go first, and then Steve will go to you next.
Okay, so is it okay to remind you of the district meeting in Bridgeport
Right,
in March
Right,
25th?
right.
Yeah,
Bridgeport 9 to 1, I think is what it normally is. 8
Something
to
like
1.
that.
Yeah, that's what I had.
I had Garrett Leeson from National NACO call, said that he'd spoken to maybe a couple of you commissioners about developmental academy, professional developmental academy. I just told him I would mention that here.
Who was it from?
Garrett,
J. Garrett Leeson,
Yeah, I got it.
but he said he had spoken on the phone to a couple of commissioners.
Yeah,
He-
I got a call.
He called me.
I
Did
didn't know who
you
it was. I
talk
thought
to
it was
him and
salesman. I
Ken
thought
talked to him? Okay, just, I told him I'd bring that up. And then my office had to stay open till 5 tonight, for the incumbent filing deadline. And as of, I don't know when I came up here, probably about 4 o'clock maybe, nobody filed from then on since I've been upstairs even, so kinda we left both sets of doors open so that nobody had any trouble if they wanted to come in.
Good.
And then she got the 10th Street doors locked and left. And then our next deadline is March 2nd, and we're staying open till 5 on that day for non-incumbents as well.
That's March 2nd.
March 2nd is the next deadline, yes.
Okay.
That's all I can think of right now.
Steve?
I really don't have a lot. We started, put the bridge decks on, bridge slabs on the northeast Minutair Bridge here last week. RNC with their crane out there, 7 loads of slabs went on, so we still gotta do some road work to line up and get the guardrail up on that for that project. That was a bridge match project from 2 years ago. So hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be finished up with that. The Cook Oil Bridge is going out for bid. Robert wants to start budgets early, so we should know. That'll be for approval at the March 26th meeting, I think. We'll see what those bids are, so that has to be done over this next winter while water's out of the canal, because our bridge match time period for that contract runs out. So we won't have time to put it off a year to get done the next winter. We won't have time for that. So that's really about it. Pretty dry out there. Can't do much with the gravel roads, but we're doing what we can.
My
So,
11-year-old, we were out on Rubidoux Road yesterday, day before. He told me to tell you that he's very pleased. That that's,
I've had a lot of people
that-
actually call.
that even though that we haven't had the weather, and I've gone all through this with him about
Right,
rain, and
right.
he said, for no weather, he said, this road is in pretty good shape. He said, make sure you tell your guy.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell
I'm
him
passing
then.
that
So,
on.
yeah, we don't get that too much, but
I know.
if you're out driving around in the dark, we did put some new stop signs up on Lake Oil and Sugar Factory and Highland and Stonegate. drive out in the dark and
You can see them babies.
go see what you think of them, so,
Blinding.
yeah, they're pretty bright, so,
Steve,
So-
before you leave,
yes.
can you talk on bridge match, or is that ending, or is it gonna, are they gonna continue, where are we at?
As far as I know, it's still up in the air, as far as I know. I have not had any updates
That's
as
what I
far
mean.
as where's that.
That's why I think it's important we finish the stuff we have on bridge match, cause it could go
Right,
away.
right, yeah. So we have 3 projects yet on Bridge Match. The one on 35 that we're doing right now, the slabs, cook oil, and then we have the bridge just west of the fairgrounds.
And what do they pay, like 80% of the?
55%.
55. I
55.
thought it was more on the
No, it's
one we-
55%. So, which, for a $500,000, it's, well over half, so.
Pretty good.
We pay for it first, and then they, of course, reimburse us, but, so, that's about all I really have, so. Yep, drive out in the dark and look at those stop signs, it'll wake you up.
And where are those at again?
Sugar Factory and Lake Oil, so it's on
Okay.
the east-west of Lake Oil,
Okay,
as you get to Sugar Factory, and then Stonegate and Highland. They're on all 4 corners on
I'll
Lake Oil.
take a
Glow in the
look.
dark.
So, they're pretty bright, they get your attention. We actually had some phone calls about them, people kinda liked them, so.
Liked them where they're like, I can't see.
Well, we got quite a few people say that for some reason on Lake Oil and Sugar Factory, people blow through the stop sign there. It's like, well, I don't know how you can't see them. There's a stop ahead, they got the regular flashing red light on top. But people were still doing it. We actually had calls, cause these ones have the red all the way around them that flash all night, and they're solar powered, so they flash all the time, but,
Good.
so.
Have to drive out.
so.
Okay,
Good deal.
Kurt?
Just a quick update, still working with Twin City, TCD, Trusted Community Development now. And, the gentleman who, the director of ride transportation out of Kearney, he's also a consultant, with, Wilkins Engineering, it's Wilkins, Heinrichs, and, anyway, he's providing a lot of guidance for this grant we're working on for a new facility. At no charge to us right now, because, Wilkins likes to work with transit. And we're basically taking their design from Kearney and trying to just tweak it a little bit. And the grant is due in a couple weeks, so next couple weeks is gonna kind of be a whirlwind to try and get as much information as we can, concepts. They're gonna get me basically a conceptual drawing and floor plan of the facility that we can hopefully submit with the grant application. Again, if we meet all 3 of their criteria for a 100% match. If we can get that, it would be all federally funded, minus the ongoing maintenance and operations costs. If not, when it go to Washington in March, I will be talking with probably staffers from our congressional delegation to talk about potentially getting some directly appropriated funds, should we not get the match, to help cover the local match portion of that. And we're still scoping locations. We have one that we'd like, but that cost of that property can also be built into the grant as well. So, gonna just keep working on that, and I'll be probably at the meeting on the 2nd. If you have any information, anything you'd like me to pass along to those when I go to DC to meet with those folks, I'd be glad to take it with me. So,
Okay, appreciate it. Ms. Jackie, you have anything?
Every year, our Nebraska Association of County Extension Board members basically descend upon the legislature to advocate for extension. And it was last week, and I usually attend with Elaine Pyle, a representative here in the Southern Panhandle. This year she wasn't able to make it at the last minute, so I attended, and I visited with Senator Hardin regarding the work that we're doing out here, and he's very much interested in AI and technology. So I shared with him how we are incorporating that into our work and sharing that with children. So in your packet there, our report, you have our report, our impact report, and we highlight Gary Stone's work with the water sensors. And so I pointed that out to him, and I said, Dr. Shanqua is the person that developed those water sensors, and they work closely together. So what we do is bring in our scientists to share their work with the youth. And we usually have some kind of technology there off on the 4-H side to share with children. And then the scientists send their technicians and their grad students to share with the children their research. And so these water sensors were shared with children, and they explained it to them, and it was one of the highlights of our program. So it's introducing that research that the scientists are developing at a young age. So we had children, gosh, from, let me see, 5 to 8th grade, whatever that is, 13, 12, 13, 14. And so that's how we are taking the technology and bringing it down to a level that children understand it. Of course, I talked about the early childhood work and the work that we're doing there, and he asked me questions about that. So it was great to have that one-on-one. John Westra, our director at Extension, was also accompanied me, and we had a nice discussion with him. Any questions about that?
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Heather?
So before the meeting, I had passed out this, it's kind of a flow chart that I got from NACO when I was down at the NACO board meeting in January. It kind of does a breakout of how the county comes to what their levy is, and then does a breakout on the average home cost and how much of your property tax bill actually goes to the county if it was based on that. It's just some good information that I thought you guys might want, and I did post it in my office this afternoon.
Good.
Does anybody have any questions on that? You know, Russ had asked me to kind of explain it.
As soon as I find it again. Mine's gotta be here somewhere.
Right beside you.
I can get you. Yeah. So it's kind of something that NACO was working on doing for all the counties, and it was actually quite interesting when I was down there to see the difference between various counties around. We actually kind of almost rated somewhere in the middle from different counties.
Say that again?
We were kind of in the middle, you know, as far as some of the things go, because a lot of the counties, you know, if you look at like Douglas County, their home value is a lot higher, their average home value is a lot higher, so their levy's lower, and in some of the smaller counties, their, you know, their value's lower, so their levy's a little bit higher. So it's just interesting information that I thought you guys might want to have. And then I'm just going to skip to the legislative stuff that I have. A couple weeks ago, Mike had mentioned that he was interested in LB 663, which does affect zoning. That went to final reading today, so it more than likely will pass. And that's the one with all the zoning changes and the requirements for county board members to take the zoning training. And I do know that NACO's recommendation on that was to make sure that we go through all of our zoning laws and make sure that we're ready for anything that might come and might get presented to you guys. So, you know that you guys did a whole bunch of that tonight, but it's something that you guys might want to really take a look at, just knowing that these changes are coming and that they're probably going to be effective in July.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Sheriff is clear in the corner.
Yeah, Sheriff, you have anything? Okay.
Gentlemen, we've talked to you before about some contracts that we've had and been engaged in with some of the small communities in the county. And so we have a contract in place with Minotaur right now, a contract in place with Morrill right now, and you've approved those things and they've come before you. But recently Minotaur has asked us to amend that contract, and so Chief Deputy Troy Brown had the lead on that, on all of these contracts. And so recently he's been in conversations with the Minnetonka City Council. And basically they're changing the contract, and I think they are going to agree to that. I think that's the latest I've heard. And so what that's going to encompass is us doing some regular patrols there for some, it's going to be some 1 or 2 or 3 days a week. And so it's all spelled out in the contract that you've seen. We won't enter this contract until you approve it, but I just wanted you to know it's coming. We've been working on it. Our county attorney has seen it. I don't know if Jason's seen it or not, but he probably did. And the city attorney for Minnetonka has seen it. But it just sets out that we will be there and what we will do and what they will pay for our services.
What
So
do
I
they
just
have,
wanted
what
to-
do they have for police now?
All they have is part-timers.
Just
And they have
regular.
a part-time, kind of their part-time police chief. He recently, became certified as a registered nurse, and he's got a full-time job at the hospital as an RN. So that's greatly diminished the number of hours that he can work, and then they have another part-time officer. And so they just needed more coverage, and it's really hard to find somebody to hire. And so, we do the same thing for Morrill when they're short of people. And we have an agreement with them to fill in when needed. When they have nobody there, we will go cover various times there and we'll respond to things. This is contracts that are common among sheriff's departments and communities across Nebraska. So I don't know all the particulars because frankly I'm not sure they've got everything worked out, but they will have some regular patrols from us and a commitment from us to have a deputy sheriff in that town during some prescribed hours. And we plan to handle that. We think that we can handle that with the staff that we have. We're not gonna ask you for any more officers. That could change if the contract changes, if they or any other communities want more hours, and we think that we need extra people. But right now, I'd say both parties are just in a, let's try it out and see how it works mode.
How's that gonna affect the sheriff's department?
We think that we can handle it just the way it is. When we have, typically when we would be doing that, we would have a minimum of 3 on duty and possibly 4. And so, and if it's during day shift, then we have other people. So if you have one committed to Minnetonka, then you have two others. And we will run a shift with 2 guys on.
I just wondered how that's gonna
Mark,
affect
would
your
it
staffing.
behoove those communities?
Pardon me?
Would it behoove those communities, I don't know what their budgets are for the police departments, to just contract with you on a full-time basis, that we have somebody within their community? I mean,
You
and
know,
they would
it's-
have to pay for it, obviously,
it's, sure.
rather than have 2
We've-
officers or
And
3.
we've explored that. I
Yeah.
mean, we, every time we've been asked to do this, and we've been asked to do this in almost every community.
Yeah.
At various times since I've been the sheriff. And so we'll find out what their budget is, and then the question is, can we do it for what their budget is? But, it's completely up. I mean, we're not trying to take anything over. They have to approach us.
Right.
When they approach us, we will give them the options. This is what we can do for you. This is what it costs. And the cost is the cost. And we're not discounting anything. The cost is the cost to have a deputy there.
I think we had talked about that years ago up at Lyman, I think it was every.
We've talked about it at Lyman. I mean, we have a contract with Morrill right now that you guys have approved.
Yeah.
When there was a time when Morrill was really short-handed, they're not as short-handed as they were. But there were times that we were spending some time in Morrill. Specifically, they wanted during school hours, and we were there.
Okay.
My thought just simply is I'm glad when we can help out, but as you mentioned, they've gotta be willing to pay for that too, and, I know that even if they weren't paying, we would be in those areas anyway, doing some stuff and receiving calls, probably, if they didn't have anything. And so, we wanna work together the best we can.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I think we have we have a very good, friendly relationship with them.
Right.
Had a lot of communication. They've been talking about this for years, right?
Yeah.
At least 2 years.
Yeah.
At least 2 years. And so, you know, some of their council people, I mean, they have questions and,
Good.
so it's, I mean, Troy has been working with them fairly closely for the last couple of years.
Sounds good.
That's
Any
all I
other
have for
questions? All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else back that way? And no one else is back there, is there? All right, Jerry, do you have anything for us? No?
When is,
Ro- Go ahead.
what, our attorney, when is our, guy gonna crawl off the mountain here? Is he back?
I think he's in transit, flying back.
So
Okay.
he is.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So he'll
That was
probably-
quite a thing he took on.
It was. He'll
Can
be
you
back.
talk on that at all? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You know, he'll tell you more, but all I know is, you know, it takes 2 or 3 days to get there. And then from the picture he sent, it's like a 4 or 5 day ascent. And you go through 4 or 5 different, tropic zones, environmental zones, so, yeah, I don't know.
Be
He'll tell you
interesting when he gets back, see
Yeah.
what he's done.
Okay, Robert?
Yeah, I've spoken on a few things already. The one thing I would mention is that, that time of year is coming up. We'll be setting values by March 19th. And, we already have some preliminary numbers in my office by neighborhoods and, valuation groups. Those are still subject to change and we're still entering some data. But we're about 2 weeks ahead of the process, by where we normally are at to set the values. So we're in really good shape and, we have a lot of that work done and behind us.
Okay.
So, that's really it
Anything
for me.
else? That's
No,
it?
That's it.
Okay. We'll go to commissioners. Russ?
I really don't have a lot. I didn't really get, getting all switched around here. I didn't really get to a whole lot of meetings here this last month. A lot going on.
Okay. Mike?
I didn't have any meetings last week. I did, look into LB 1258, and I did call the state senator that's, head of that committee, but there's a movement within the state, mainly by your industrialized size feedlots, to do away with the brand committee, which your independent and smaller, feedlots and cattlemen are against that because it takes away a lot of the law enforcement when it comes to cattle issues such as rustling, stuff like that. And so that was in committee today. They were discussing it. I hadn't heard whether or not it got out of committee. And then there's another LB, I forgot the number, that deals with the public hearing during the pink postcard, where the governor is gonna sign that one. And that will require a commissioner and the assessor to be at that meeting.
Right. LB 384.
Yeah, and that, I was against that also, but that's two of them that come to mind. There's quite a few in there that, some of these urban senators are not real friendly towards our ag community.
They don't understand it at all.
Yeah, and
About
so-
like we understand how Omaha works, you know?
And I did send the comment down to the legislature the other day. I don't know if it got read or not. They're supposed to notify me if it did, but we need to keep an eye on the legislature because we're an ag industry, especially in the far western ends of the state. We need to help our business people out there stay ahead of the game. And then I did get a call, from a gentleman back east. They want me to talk to him about first responder chaplaincy, and, so I'll be doing that.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. So, couple things, that I had, Kelly had sent an email, and, it was, apparently a lawsuit. It says State of Nebraska Department of Transportation versus Roden Skinner. This appears to be part of the, expressway that the state's getting ready to do, and it's about a condemnation of property. And Robert, you were at least included in the list of where that went to. Who did you give that to, or what do we need to do,
I
if
haven't
anything?
distributed it any further than what Kelly has. I don't even know why I received it from an assessment perspective.
It's a state issue.
That's right.
That's what it seems to me.
Yeah.
I don't
I sent
understand.
it as a possible lawsuit issue, is
Right.
why I included Robert as management accountant.
Did you, I think you sent it to Dave Eubanks, right? Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
Dave is the appropriate party to get it.
Dave Eubanks has, you sent it to him, it says, so. Well, we'll start with that, and then again, I think this is fully a state issue. I don't think it's ours, but, okay, I just wanted to be sure everybody felt the same, and that
Were they
if
asking-
Dave has it, then
Were they asking
I
for
sent it to
values,
you as a
anything on
NERMA
it?
contact,
they're.
not as an assessor. Okay.
I think the, party that was, bringing it, they were suing the state, it says, and I think they were suing the state to, appoint appraisers to appraise the value of their property. And, I think that's primarily it. I think they're taking some of their property for the highway. But I didn't understand exactly why they thought we needed a copy, but apparently it was served to Kelly in official service, so. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about it, I guess, I just wanna be sure we're all on that same page. I wanna, say again that today the filing deadline came and went, and I did not file for reelection. Just wanted to be sure that we
That-
all know that.
That sounds like 100% sure
Yeah.
you're not going to.
I was trying to get down there by 5, but I just wasn't able to.
Your board.
The doors were locked or something, so.
They were not locked.
This door was locked. Anyway, I did not file. I'll have more to say about it later on, towards the end of the year, probably, about things, but at this point, decided not to run, and so just, that's the official, position there. Matt, maybe you can be sure and mention about the February 24th tourism thing, if you'll be sure and do that. And I think the other dates have already been talked about, and, I don't think last week that I had any other, meetings that I had to go to, and Robert, I missed a, regional governance meeting. Totally blew it off, just,
You and Russ both missed it.
well, yeah, I didn't,
I was
and
there.
I normally try and be at those, I like going to them, and I just totally blew it off and forgot,
It's okay.
and didn't check my calendar,
You called me about it.
so. But I think that's all I have on my list. Ken?
At a Kaplan meeting last week, they're discussing some work being done on the building up in Alliance that they purchased. They're doing some remodeling and, some difficulties with both the fire marshal and the city inspector in Alliance, having to add on more and more things. I'm not gonna be able to be at the next one. I have a doctor's appointment out of town. So that's the one I'd really like to be at. They're gonna bring down, they have a third-party administrator that's taking care of all of the construction for them. And my question was, is why wasn't these things talked about when they did the original contract?
Well, they've talked about, I've been at the meetings,
I
but they
know.
said that we weren't gonna be able to comply, so they did this in a phase 2, 3.
Well, the phase one was 375,000 that they were committed to, and this, we don't know what the next one's going
Yeah,
to be.
they didn't know
Some
what
of
the
it should have been included with that phase one,
They
and
should
it
have been
wasn't,
tied together, so
or
there was
whatever.
a,
Anyway,
should have been a total.
you missed a really good dinner, by the way.
Oh,
that night.
they always have a good dinner there.
It was
Didn't we have a
wonderful.
total amount on phase 1 and 2?
Aging office postponed their meeting, last week, so I'll be there on Thursday, the staff was gone. Had, Region One, biggest thing with that is the crisis center down in Kimball, they got approved for all their funds, so the construction work, remodeling is starting down there. It's gonna be a good operation.
So explain that, what is that for us, for what? Ken?
It's a crisis stabilization, they took over the old hospital in Kimball, but the hospital is leasing it to them, I should say.
Okay,
And it's gonna be an emergency type crisis stabilization. If there's a problem, there's a place that they can go.
it doesn't have anything with the youth,
Well, yeah, it could be. They do have an area that could be used for youth, but they need to get it approved first, cause there's a sight and sound thing with the youth.
okay.
But that's not 100% yet. Then had Office of, Development Disability. Not a whole lot going on there. They're having trouble getting vehicles, just like everybody else is. So it's pretty vanilla meeting, actually. So that's really all I've got. I'll have more on probably on the, aging office next meeting when I go to it this week.
Matt?
So, one, I saw several of us, at the reception for, Judge Warden's retirement. I was really impressed with the number of people that showed up. I mean, for as long as he's worked for the county, it's good that they, recognized him and went to a lot of work to honor that. And we did have a tourism meeting today. They discussed and considered incentive grant for the Old West Balloon Fest, and I don't know whether it was approved or not, because I got called out, so they did vote on it, but I can't say definitively. But, and there's also a promotion grant for Legacy of the Plains website was another one that they considered. I do know that they discussed and considered renewal of the Placer AI software that cost the county $15,000 is what it was, and they decided that they weren't gonna do it, which I applaud that, but they decided not to renew that Placer AI software. National Tourism Week is coming up May 3rd through the 8th, and to kick that off, I think we've got the state poet who's gonna be here on the 2nd of May to start that tourism week. And there's a report from the National Tourism Commissioner, Dave Wolf, who's the Legacy of the Plains director. They picked a new director, not for Legacy of the Plains, but for the Tourism Commission, and they have a new campaign. It's Nebraska All Heart. So more to be, I guess, said on that. And the last thing that I have is next week, February 24th, next week, tourism does have a strategic planning workshop, and all of the commissioners are invited to it. I believe it starts at 8 in the morning and goes to noon, but this is phase 2 of the strategic planning that they've gone through, and so February 24th.
If anybody plans to go to that, could you kind of rotate throughout the day for me?
Need to.
I didn't advertise anything.
Only 2 people there at a time if we could.
So
Thank you.
that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir. So we still have one item, and that's, the executive session. And it says discussion and possible action regarding personnel matter. Closed session necessary for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual. And so, I would move that we go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual. In that executive session, we would include obviously the commissioners, Robert Simpson, Jerry Osdick, and then also included would be Rose Nelson, on an as-needed basis. So, but she would be included in the motion. So that would be my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to that effect. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question. Could, if she gets invited in, would you please take note of that if I'm not up here?
Take note and of the
Of
time.
what time that she
Sure.
was invited in?
Sure.
Other than that, I'm ready.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
You have 5 yeses?
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go into closed session for personnel matter to prevent needless injury to the reputation of an individual at 7:18.
We're going back in Lisa's old office after.
She loves to do that.
Okay.
We don't have Ken quite yet.
Oh, shoot, sorry.
Well, wait a second. It sounds nasty.
If anybody's interested, the Scotts Bluff, female wrestlers had a good day.
Did they? Good.
2 of them, and they're both in the semifinals.
What about hearing? What'd you
Uh,
say?
I didn't look.
Well, you need to. Kinda has a niece that's in it.
You do?
Kinda does.
What's that?
Right,
Riley, yeah.
she what?
She advanced to first round.
Okay.
They would have wrestled the quarters tonight, so they should know how she did the second round.
Dane, Hughes, and Han all picked up first round, and they said 3 hours ago.
They'll do quarters too tonight, so if you go on track, it'll.
Here.
Alright, Ms. Kelly, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Meeting will come back to order. We'll have roll call.
Harris,
Here.
Reisig,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Blue,
Here.
Parsley.
Here,
And should note it's 7:51. We did have an executive session. No decisions were made, no action was taken. And, I would move that there be no action and, that we would adjourn. Any,
We don't have to,
don't
We
even have to do that?
do that.
There's no action to be taken, so, yeah.
let's
We
go.
don't need a motion to adjourn because we're at the end of the agenda. All right, we'll adjourn.